Thomas Paine, Thomas Paine, Thomas Paine, Sam Adams, Sam Adams, Sam Adams, Benjamin Franklin, Benjamin Franklin, Benjamin Franklin. These men spoke up for what they thought was right. From their courage came such documents as the Declaration of Independence and the Constitution of the United States. From their willingness to speak what was sometimes unpopular but right, we enjoy such liberties as freedom of speech, the right to keep and bear arms, and freedom of religion. There are those who still wish to oppress our freedoms, and there are still patriots willing to stand up and defend life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness. Men like Zeb Bell, who honor our founding fathers and what they stood for. It's now time for Zeb at the Ranch, speaking up and defending your freedoms. Brought to you by Magic Valley Les Schwab Tire Centers and all of the other great advertisers on the program. And now, Zeb Bell.
Ladies and gentlemen, as part of our continuing public service on Obamacare, we have indications that your employer has changed to Obama's health care plan. Here are some. Directions to your doctor's office include, take a left when you enter the trailer park. Number 2, the tongue depressors taste faintly of fudgesicles. And number 3, the only proctologist in the plan is Gus from Roto-Rooter. Good morning, everyone. Here now comes Kate Smith and God Bless America, followed by a patriot with our Pledge of Allegiance on a Monday. Look out for Gus from Roto-Rooter. Good morning. Thank you, Kate, for coming by and singing for us this morning. Welcome to Zeb at the Ranch. I'm Zeb Bell, brought to you by our major sponsor, your Magic Valley Les Schwab Tire Centers, all 7 locations, doing the best job for you. Along with some of our great advertisers that include, of course, Ramsey Heating and Electric, and we don't want to forget them, and along with also Lee's Furniture, Floors, and more at 459 Overland and Burley. And Western Waste Services, always at your disposal. Get on the route service today, 734-6969. And without further ado, a lady that is going to handle all of my verbiage and take care of my personal problems. Dare we say more? Gina Jameson.
Good morning, sir, and truly, I wish you the best of the morning.
You know, when we, and I say this because I don't want to sound egotistical on it, but in our line of work, no matter what we do, if we ruffle somebody's feathers, they're really put out and think that we're bad people.
They always do, and it's always, I mean, we're such a bad person, but really it's not. Sometimes we're just placed in unfortunate circumstances.
I love to see, I'm telling you, I kind of had some things happen this morning that really fried my bacon, and I didn't get a piece of it, and I was a little upset, so anyhow.
And rightfully so.
And the BMV, the Bad Mood Verbiage Director, is Gina.
I've got my finger ready on the button.
Oh, thank you. Speaking of having your finger on the button, do we have somebody for the pledge?
We have Al on for the pledge and Michael on for the weather.
Very good. Al, please, go ahead.
Good morning, Mr. Bell.
Yes, sir.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Al, thank you for coming on the program.
I got a little story to tell you.
Uh-oh.
This bagpiper was sitting there on the street corner one day, and he seen this homeless man die, and the minister come along and said, well, let's go give him a funeral up on Nob Hill. So he told him how to get there, so he said, okay, I'll come up and play a song. So he started going, and he turns around and gets lost like usual, so he's late getting to the service. So anyway, there's a group of guys standing there, and he gets out and he plays his bagpipe, Amazing Grace. Everybody cries. After it's all over with, the guy says, 20 years I've been doing septic tanks.
Al, get out of here. Thanks, Al. See you later, buddy. Hey, it's time for the weather, brought to you by Rock Creek Growers on the corner of Maxine Lane and Irene Streets in Kimberly. Oh, and I feel so bad this morning. We didn't get into that great big patio party at Rock Creek Growers the other night, and it was all my fault. You know why? I've honestly, true story, fell asleep in my lawn chair. I'm telling you the straight truth. Rock Creek Growers, and here now, MichaelRogersWeather.com.
Morning, everybody. Start of a brand spanking new week of the same weather that we had last week. How about that? 96 for the high today. It'll be sunny. We'll see a few clouds. And the overnight low will be 60. Tomorrow, more the same. Wednesday, more the same. It's called the dog days of summer. So enjoy the weather. It's the only weather you got.
The best weatherman in the universe, MichaelRogersWeather.com. And don't forget, time to fertilize. Has mowing your yard been easier with less bagging? But on the flip side, your yard's not looking so lush and green. Well, it's time to fertilize your yard and lawn, especially now. Now, with all the hot temperatures. Rock Creek Growers on the corner of Maxine Lane and Irene Streets in Kimberly. They're so easy to find and information readily available to you. 423-6800. Bringing you Michael Rogers Weather. We got a whole bunch of things to talk about. Tomorrow, I want to make this note up front. Tomorrow only, one time only, tomorrow, Tuesday, Dr. History will move from 10:06 to 10:35 tomorrow. Only tomorrow. Dr. History, better known in real life, Dr. Ken Turner, has been so gracious. We had a chance to get a gentleman on our program in our studio tomorrow, traveling through this area, and Dr. History graciously has changed his time tomorrow on the program to 10:35, only tomorrow. Let's not forget our friends at Daryl's Cleaners, 1223 Albion Avenue in Burley. Oh, they can clean your clothes. I mean, anything that has a stain, a spot, whatever, take it in there, and if you got rumply crumplies like mine, they'll come out looking brand spanking new. You take them into the best. Kevin, Cindy, the rest of the crew. Daryl's Cleaners, 1223 Albion Avenue in Burley. Oh, and by the way, Shane sent us some information, too, from our friends at SafeLink Internet. You bet, if you haven't signed up for SafeLink Internet, high-speed Internet service, now is the time. No contracts required, no credit checks, new high-speed Internet packages with no data limits. Oh, my! You better check it out. Free professional installation. Call 677-8000, 677-8000, SafeLink High-Speed Internet. Wonderful people. Calls are welcome and appreciated. 436-2244, 1-866-927-4587. Oh, wait a minute. Did you hear about that op-ed editorial piece back east? I think it was in North Carolina. And the editor of the op-ed page is looking for a job this morning. And the reason he's looking for a job is that he wrote a editorial piece in the newspaper as the editor-in-chief of that page, but he had the headline, President Obama, take your jobs plan and shove it. Whoa. He is gone. Adios. They opened the door and kind of just let him go out and smell the fresh air, because President Obama was coming to their respective town the next day for a visit. So the king was going to come into town, and the newspaper, being very liberal, like most of the media, was embarrassed that this man would have on the editorial opinion and editorial page a story that basically told Obama that his jobs plan was worthless and not helping America. Well, goodbye, Mr. Editorial Writer. He is now currently looking for a job. Doesn't that just tell you right now that the media is so much in bed with Obama, so much as an umbrella for Obama? He's never going to get wet. He's never going to have anything fall on his head. He's never going to take the blame for anything because the media is right there to protect him. This is disgusting. Oh, I got another disgusting story for you here in just a minute. You're not going to believe this. Out of my former home state of Wisconsin. It just doesn't make any sense. Don't forget Ramsey Heating and Electric at 2600 Overland Avenue in Burley. Number to call, 678-0459. Open 7:30 to 5:30 Monday through Fridays. They've got the door opens early in the morning, and Keith is out there singing, "Oh, what a beautiful morning," right out in front of the door, and I'm telling you, they have a great time. All your electrical needs are right there at Ramsey Heating and Electric, including all your fluorescent and HID lighting. Over 57 years in business, serving you wonderful people at Ramsey Heating and Electric, 2600 Overland Avenue in Burley. Really good folks. I got to tell you a story about a little fawn in just a minute. A little bitty baby deer that you're not going to believe. Don't forget Valley Wine Home and Ranch for all your fair needs. I mean, holy buckets, we just started fair season. And they've got everything you need, including all of the shavings for your stalls. They got all the feed. They've got all the clothing for you. They've got everything. And by the way, if you're not showing something at the fair and you want to go fishing, they got a great fishing department over there. They got all your lures. They got all your camping and hunting equipment, fishing equipment, everything. Right there at Valley Wine Home and Ranch. Steve and the rest of the crew taking care of you at, of course, 910 South Oneida in Rupert. Valley Wine Home and Ranch. Okay, so there is this animal shelter on the state line between Wisconsin and Illinois. And somebody drops off a little bitty fawn, okay? Drops it off. Here, you take care of it. And so the owner of the animal shelter, he was on television this morning at approximately 4:35 our time, 6:35 Eastern time. So the owner of the animal shelter takes the fawn and put it in a little stall in the barn. And they showed pictures of it. It was healthy. It was jumping around and doing really well. They were feeding it, and they called it Giggles. That's the name of the fawn, is Giggles. All of a sudden, and I'm not making this up, a 13-member SWAT team goes out to this animal shelter, and they make everybody leave the area where the animal shelter is. And if you have small children in the room right now that are listening, would you please make sure they got something else to do? You know, go make some noise or run in another room or whatever, because this story is not good for children. So please, are the kids out of the room? Okay, we'll continue. 13-member SWAT team goes to the animal shelter, and they shoot the fawn. They kill the fawn and then bring it out in a body bag. Now, you have got to explain to me why this happened. The fawn was dropped off. These people took care of it. They notified authorities that they had it, and they said that this man didn't have the proper papers. But a 13-member SWAT team? You've got to be kidding me. They come with all their gear, and they stand outside the stall of a baby fawn and shoot it. Now, what kind of twits are these? What kind of absolutely nitwits are these? Please, somebody, and I'm going to bring this up to the fishing game when they're back on the program next week. What in the world would constitute a animal shelter to be invaded by a SWAT team sent to kill a baby deer? Chew on that for a minute, and please give me a reason.
Were they hungry?
You know, Gina, I'm at a loss as to how people can be so dumb.
Well, having a SWAT team go into a animal shelter to rescue a baby deer.
Yeah.
That's
not rescue. Shoot the fawn right in the stall.
Really?
Yeah.
Why? What was it carrying some disease that we don't know about? Was it hurting anybody?
No, they interviewed the owner of the animal shelter this morning, and he was just taken aback and totally aghast as to he walked out of another office room early in the morning that morning, and the SWAT team members told him to go over and get out of the way and stay there with the rest of his crew, and they walked in, and the SWAT team just killed the deer because he, the owner of the animal shelter, did not have the proper papers.
And that was it.
That is all the story.
What, now, okay, so the legal ramifications? Okay, is there any sort of recourse for this guy?
I don't know, but you see, this is why I'm bringing this story up. Because of network news, not having a lot of time, they had to hurry and get the points of interest in the story.
Right.
I'm going to be doing my own follow-up because I think I know where this place is. I think it's in Beloit, Wisconsin, which is right on the border.
Right.
But now, the owner of the animal sanctuary was on television, and he was absolutely a nice older man. Of course, older, I guess I'm probably the same age he is now. But anyhow, a nice older man was on television. He says, hey, the fawn was dropped off. I put it in a pen. I notified people. I didn't have any papers because how would I get the papers? I'm just trying to take care of it till the people come and got it, the notified authorities. And SWAT members? Isn't there a better usage of our protection and security?
Yeah. There's drug dealers, there's murderers, there's so many other people out there on the streets that the SWAT team can go after. For crying out loud, this is a little baby fawn. It's not going to hurt anybody except for maybe a couple sprigs of alfalfa.
Oh, my gosh. And, I mean, it took a 13-member SWAT team to stand there on the property and literally blow the young fawn away, and they took it out in a body bag in front of everybody. I mean, what kind of a world are we living in? Wouldn't it have been easier, really, to have the Fish and Game or Department of Natural Resources back in that area, the DNR, if they could have come on the property and said, hello, Mr. Smith, or whatever the guy's name was, and we understand that you have a fawn, and would you tell us a little bit about it? Well, it was dropped off here, and I'm trying to care for it until the notable authorities come by and pick it up. Okay, Mr. Smith, but you realize this is not right. We can't let you keep it. I don't want to keep it. I'm just taking care of it, keeping it healthy. But to send in a SWAT team and shoot it in the pen? Yeah. Are you kidding me?
Oh, wrong. On so many levels wrong. I mean, yeah, I think here in Idaho, and you could probably talk to Kelton Hatch or somebody about this, but, you contact the BLM or the U.S. Department of Forestry and say, okay, hey, here's the situation. Can you send in one of your wildlife specialists to come in, take a look at this fawn, and so we can assess what to do with it? Can we just release it back into the wild once it gets old enough? Blah, 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 blah. Give it to a zoo, whatever. But don't take the SWAT team, which, by the way, their salary. Who's paying their salary?
You know what's going to happen, I'll bet you, honestly, and that was not brought up, and it's an excellent point you raise. I'll bet you that poor guy at that animal sanctuary is going to probably have to pay the bill.
Yeah, and I don't think that he really should. I mean, he was just trying to... he obviously has a kind heart. There was an animal that was in need, and so he's like, okay, I'm going to help out this animal in need until we can figure out what is the best way to handle this situation. And they didn't even let him get out of the gate.
No, and I'll tell you what I'm going to do. I'm going to stay on this story, and I'm going to try to get the gentleman on my program, because, can you imagine, like you touched on just a moment ago, here we have in our country, we have terrorists that actually have set up camps in New York, Texas, Oregon, everywhere, for the sole intent and purpose of having a jihad against us here in this country. Okay, we know they're there. Yep. And we do nothing. But yet we have a baby fawn that is brought to an animal sanctuary. The gentleman cares for it. It's alive and well. I saw the pictures. It's jumping around in the stall and everything. And they send in a 13-member SWAT team and kill the fawn. Now, Gina, please tell me there's a balance here someplace.
There is no balance on this one. There is no balance, and I wish that there was. Come on. Sending in a SWAT team to kill an innocent... What can a fawn hurt? Seriously.
I'm sitting here. Seriously. I'm just aghast as to how patient we are, as a public to let government and bureaucracy and idiocy take over our everyday lives.
Well, unless that fawn was a robot that was a spy, maybe a drone or something, that was put in there by Al-Qaeda to declare jihad on this animal sanctuary. I think that which is not true.
I'm shaking my head. I'm just sitting here shaking my head that we would allow in this country this kind of incompetency and idiocy, and somebody out there in Radio Land that knows why or how come or the wherewithal as to why a SWAT team would be sent to go and kill a baby fawn in a stall at an animal sanctuary. Oh, please.
Okay, so who is, because the SWAT team was told to go in there.
Yeah.
So who told them?
Well, that's...
Who's the one person that said, okay, guys, we've got this situation, and I want to know, and we'll probably never, ever know the answer to this, how many of the gentlemen, men, women, whoever that were on the SWAT team had reservations about doing this and thought that it was wrong, but they had to follow the orders anyway? So who is the next person higher up on the chain?
I don't know, but I guarantee you that I'm going to find out more about this story, and I will also leave a little caveat here, that if we find out something about this story that merits what they did, we will be fair and honest in our reporting. But right now, you've got to look at this story and say, what? This is total idiocy.
Part of me wants to laugh and shake my head, but the other half of me is just utterly, completely disgusted.
I feel, I'm a little different about laughing. I'm to the point where if they could do this and send us 13-member SWAT team into an animal sanctuary to blow away a little fawn that doesn't even weigh 100 pounds, what then could this incompetency do to people and private property?
Exactly. Well, nothing is private anymore.
Oh, I got to pay some bills.
Yeah, you do.
I'm really upset about this. But I will find out more. Hey, don't forget the Cassia County Fair and Rodeo. All the merchants are supporting the fair this year in Cassia County, including Butte Irrigation, 116 South, 600 West, Highway 27 in Paul, and the new location on Kimberly Road, north of Kimberly by Red Cap Corner. Butte Irrigation, a major hub for agriculture, irrigation parts, and all your equipment since 1975. They will get you wet. Also, Burley Veterinary Hospital. Good people over there at 2869 Overland in Burley. Number to call, 678-5509, offering the best of veterinary medical diagnostics and treatments to your animals at Burley Veterinary Hospital. And the Book Plaza at 222 West 11th Street in Burley. Oh my goodness, they always got new things at the bookstore, new and used books, all the gifts, everything great for Mom, and it's the home of the National Pioneer Hall of Fame. The Book Plaza, all of those folks helping support the Cassia County Fair and Pro Rodeo. Holy buckets, am I late. I went too long on that last segment. Travel Lube Supply, 1050 West, 203 South of Hayburn, right there at Jim McCall's farm. They got duct tape. They got rolls and rolls of duct tape. And they've got all your oil and air filters. And they got Bubba ropes. They've got all the Bubba ropes. They've got everything for you over there at Jim McCall's Travel Lube Supply, 1050 West, 203 South of Hayburn, 438-8730. It is time, quickly, for the Capital Press Ag Minute, brought to you by Pacific Steel and Recycling, 320 West Main in Burley.
Today's Ag Minute brought to you by the Capital Press, the West Ag Weekly.
Japan's decision to lift its ban on purchasing U.S. Western white wheat will boost wheat prices, but other factors will have more impact, analysts say. Bids on soft white wheat for August delivery tendered $6.50 to $11.50 per bushel higher Wednesday compared with Tuesday's noon bids, according to the USDA's Market News Service at the Port of Portland. Prices topped out at $7.31 a bushel. But corn prices will have more impact on wheat prices than Japan's announcement. If the Midwest produces a big corn crop this year, corn prices will drop, and so will wheat. That's because both commodities can go into feed markets. With the Capital Press Ag Minute, this is Hannah Brous.
For more agriculture news and information, turn to the West Ag Weekly, the Capital Press, and CapitalPress.com.
Oh, these are good people at Pacific Steel and Recycling, and they can help you with your project from start to scrap. That's right. They can help you recycle and purchase metal, and they just stop in and see them, ask them questions, because they are the best. They are your recyclers. You're right there at Pacific Steel and Recycling, 320 West Main in Burley. Excellent people to work with, 678-2321. Good morning, caller. You're on the air.
Oh, good morning. Why don't somebody call the president? Let's get this thing straightened out. Maybe we could even have a beer summit.
On the fawn slaying?
Yes.
You know something, though, Keith, honestly, would you please tell me, you're always subdued and you think things through, tell me, where is the competency in sending 13 people to kill a little baby deer?
Well, for one thing, I think they needed an exercise at that time, to show the need of a SWAT team. A lot of times, when things get critical and they want to cut budgets and everything, they do stupid things like this.
Well, if the deer, the fawn, needed to be euthanized, or there was a problem, or, my goodness, why couldn't they have called a veterinarian? Why couldn't they have called a veterinarian to euthanize the fawn? Why did they have to blow it to bits with a SWAT team?
Because they needed the exercise, and they needed the publicity, and they need more money in their budget.
This kind of a story it takes away from our humanity. You know what I mean?
It certainly does, and, what is safe anymore? Somebody could come in and storm your house and kill all your animals and everything else because they heard some story about you.
Yeah, I tell you what I'm going to do. My lovely bride just pulled up some more information, and we're going to see what she has to say. Keith, I'll let you know in just a second. I got to do a commercial, and then we'll find out more about what just came up on the website, okay? All right.
Okay.
Thank you, my friend. Don't forget JB's, 136 East 5th North in Burley. Oh, my goodness. Great food. Great food over there and fantastic service at JB's. Daniel and the staff always working for you. And I'll tell you what, the food, the breakfast buffet, you've got to get in there and try that. That's my favorite meal. You're going to love it. Luncheon specials, steaks, it's all there. Great service. JB's, the home of Zeb's Lunch Bunch. Absolutely. At 136 East 5th North in Burley. JB's. Deanne just handed me this, and I know Gina's going to be listening, but I'll tell you, Wisconsin Department of Natural Resources Secretary Stepp said fawn had to be euthanized. Let's see what it says. Last week, a fawn, and I'm reading this right off of the Cap Times that Deanne handed me, quote unquote, last week a fawn named Giggles was euthanized by state wardens after it was brought to a shelter by a family who believed the fawn had been abandoned by its mother. Okay, they go on and they go on. The fawn had been brought to the no-kill shelter by an Illinois family in an effort to save the animal. In accordance with the state's captive deer laws, no animal is supposed to be taken or transported from its home in the wild. Well, the guy that owns the animal shelter certainly didn't know that, or had not been a party to it. In an ongoing effort to stop the spread of the deadly chronic wasting disease, CWD, among the state's deer population, deer that are taken into captivity in areas of the state where CWD has been discovered are required to be euthanized. Well, I can understand that part of the story as far as euthanation, but why did it take a SWAT team? This does not make any sense.
I'm reading a story, and it was put on, this is out of TwinCities.com, apparently a news organization from that neck of the woods, and it says that the fawn was not killed at the shelter, but tranquilized and euthanized later.
Really? Well, then why did they carry it out in the body bag?
I have no idea.
Interesting.
Yeah,
the problem when you have stories like this, Gina, there's what they call CYA, and I'm just wondering what happened here. But we'll keep looking into this as we go along. Thank you.
Okay.
All right, caller, good morning. You're on the air.
They hung up.
Oh, don't hang up, please. I got another story that we'll get into this morning, and it's about our so-called leadership here in the United States, and I'm going to get into that in just a moment, about Obama and the closing of embassies. Stand by. Don't forget Harris Plumbing NG for all your plumbing service needs. Now, we called, it's been, about a month ago, 431-8633. We called, and I said, hey, I got problems. I need you to come look at them. And they were here not more than, maybe 20 minutes, and everything is done. They are so conscientious, they're so polite, they're so courteous, and save me money. I'm telling you. Harris Plumbing MG. For all your plumbing service needs, Harris Plumbing MG. And one call, that's all. 431-8633. You call them today. Drips, leaks, clogs, main water line repair, water and heaters and softeners, everything. 24/7 service. They are good. All right, calls welcome, 436. Deanne, what else did you find out about this? Your Wisconsin DNR removes Facebook page amid national outcry over SWAT-style takedown of the Fawn. Well, there's another viewpoint that says the SWAT team did kill the Fawn. We're going to have to do some more checking on this story. So, opposing viewpoints. This one from Isthmus, the Daily page, and it says, observers criticize use of taxpayer resources in heavy-handed raid. Well. All right, calls are welcome, 436-2244, 1-866-927-4587. Caller, good morning, you're on the air.
Good morning, Zeb.
Yes, sir.
My opinion, and everybody's got one, is that they're done this so they can practice their raids for, more serious deals like police state and, confiscating firearms and maybe stuff like that.
I can't argue with you because we're getting conflicting reports in from various other sources this morning. But this headline says the Wisconsin Department of Natural Resources has removed the Facebook page of this incident amid national outcry over SWAT-style takedown of Fawn. What does that tell you?
Well, they probably thought he was dangerous.
Yeah.
Yeah. No, that's the only thing I can do is just, that they're practicing for their police state or,
But think what you just said though merits a little bit of conversation because, okay, let's assume that you live out in the country and all of a sudden a report comes in that you're planning anarchy or planning some plot to do something in this country, and all of a sudden you walk out of your house and there's maybe more than a 13-member SWAT team, and they've got the wrong house, they got the wrong guy, and possibly they're going to take the wrong life. I mean, this really bothers me that they would need 13 members of a SWAT team to go kill a little baby deer, Bambi.
I know it, yeah. And that has happened, the wrong house and stuff. I've heard stories of that where they've demolished the wrong house.
Oh, that just happened a week ago. It just happened a week ago, yeah.
So, it's crazy. It's one thing about this administration I found out, whatever they say they're not doing, they are doing.
Oh, yeah. When their lips are moving, be really scared.
No offense, Keith, but they should be a car salesman.
Hey, thanks for your call. Have a good day. Thank you.
See ya. Bye.
Oh, let's have a quick weather update. I know we're a few minutes early, but I'm going to take some more calls in just a minute. Stand by, callers, and we'll have a Michael Rogers weather update right now.
Hey, everybody, Michael Rogers for MichaelRogersWeather.com. You see that lightning show last night? The great thing about lightning, guess what? When you get lightning in the Magic Valley like that, it's free of charge. 92 for the high today. A lot of sun, very little clouds. 57 for the overnight low. Enjoy the weather. It's the only weather you got.
Oh, my goodness. Thank you, Michael. RogersWeather.com. This is unbelievable. As I read quickly this story, the feedback was primarily critical of the Department of National Resources and all their actions, and many commentators about this issue back in the Midwest declared the incident to be a public relations embarrassment for the entire state of Wisconsin, as well it should be. Good morning, caller. You're on the air.
Notice they didn't talk about warrants or anything like that, the legal side of it. They ran in and done what they wanted, and now they have to take the repercussions for it. and I hope they don't let them off easy.
Well, I don't either. Quite frankly, I've got the names now of the people involved, and after this show is over this morning, I'm going to get a hold of the gentleman that owns the animal sanctuary and try to get him on our program in the first hour tomorrow morning, because I can understand having captive deer laws. I think you can too, because many times people go up in the woods and Kelton Hatch with a fish and game, we've talked about this, and they see a fawn laying someplace and they say, oh, the fawn's mother has left and the fawn's abandoned. No, that's not the case. You know as well as I do, 99.9 times out of 100, that mother is away but watching where that fawn is, and you never want to touch a wild animal or move a fawn. But in this respective case where this fawn was brought to this animal sanctuary and the gentleman said, I'll take care of it until the authorities are notified, I don't see what he did wrong, and I certainly don't see where it merits a SWAT team to go in and shoot it.
Yeah, let's let them know again so they can come in and do it again.
Yeah, this is unbelievable.
That helps the whole plan, don't it?
Yeah. Hey, listen, man, I appreciate your call. Thanks.
Have a good one.
Oh, yeah. I got to read up on this, and I'm going to try to get the people on the program. Calls welcome, 436-2244, 1-866-927-4587. Oh, do not forget, say cheese at the Jerome County Fair and Pro Rodeo. Oh, my goodness sakes, today they're having all the weigh-ins and all the 4-H and FFA open show, market dairy heifers, and then at 8:30, just a few minutes ago, they started the Great Big Horse Show over there at the Jerome County Fair, and tomorrow they got all kinds of activity, including a big pig wrestling in the arena. Oh, you do not want to miss the Jerome County Fair and Pro Rodeo. Say cheese at the Jerome County Fair. Calls are welcome and appreciated. 436-2244, 1-866-927-4587. Hey, Gina, I've got a question for you real quick. Are you right there?
I'm right here. Hold on just a second.
Okay, I didn't know whether you were in the office or not. I got to ask you something really bothered me when I read one of our local papers the other day.
Okay.
This was in the Weekly News Journal, okay?
Okay.
And it was in the obituary section.
Okay.
Uh-huh. And this lady, and I'm not going to mention the name, had a living obituary.
What?
Yeah, that's what I did. I read this, I was looking through, and it happened to hit my eyes, and the editor's note said, quote, I am alive and well, but have chosen to host my living funeral now rather than after I die.
Well, I guess one way to get together with your friends and have a party.
Couldn't you just invite them over for chocolate chip cookies?
You would think so.
I mean, this gave me a kind of a bejeebers feeling, you know?
Yeah, it's very morbid.
Yeah.
Very morbid.
And this particular lady gave an obituary and said where she was born and who preceded her in death and who has been her family. And then it got to this. Viewing will be held at such and such a place on such and such a time, and the person is alive and well. Is what I said too. Is a good way to sum it up there, my dear.
Wow. Not knowing who this person is, I have not read this story. I did not read this little piece, but just from what you've explained to me, either one, this is somebody who is very, very lonely.
Yeah.
Or two, this is somebody who's in dire need of attention.
You know,
and has kind of an ego about them.
Yeah.
And like I said, I don't want to step on any toes. I don't know this person, but from just what you described, that's the feeling that I get.
Well, I agree with you. And quite frankly, I'm not going to mention the names. People can read it, and they probably can draw their own conclusions. Mm-hmm. But this person wrote, quote, I am alive and well, but have chosen to justify the expense of a funeral by enjoying it with my family and friends now rather than after I die.
Well, see, I can understand that point of view, but why? But just invite everybody over to a party.
Have a lawn party
or something. But okay, so I guess this is one way to get some attention, and you know.
I guess what I'm sitting here doing is the morbidity. I guess that's the word I'll use. The morbidity of having a death notice in the paper when you're still alive. And that kind of makes my skin crawl.
Well, either that or they've got a really, really great sense of humor. That we're missing.
Okay. Let's see what this caller has to say. Good morning, caller. You're on the air.
Yes, good morning, Zeb.
Yes, sir.
Oh, I was going to talk to you about these closing of these embassies.
Yeah, I hadn't got into it yet. I think it's an act of cowardice by our country. I think it's an act of putting our tail in the hole first, and that is Obama's leadership.
Well, what's going to happen there is they're going to take over the whole Middle East, shut down the oil supply because they know that Obama's already alerted the world that he's anti-oil. And the price of gas would probably end up going up to $7, $8 a gallon.
I can't argue that. That's been one of my concerns all weekend as I followed this story. Here's the whole thing about Al-Qaeda and closing 21 of our embassies in cowardice. They're basically saying, okay, a couple of months ago, Obama reiterated the point that Al-Qaeda was on the run and Al-Qaeda was not a major threat anymore. Well, he's a liar. Obama's a liar. Al-Qaeda is a major threat right now, and by closing down 21 of our embassies, they are admitting that our cowardice has been beaten. We are now losing to Al-Qaeda.
Oh, absolutely. They're going to take over the Middle East and a lot of other countries, and when they do that, they're going to end up taking over the United States if we're not careful.
I don't understand why more people can't see through this smokescreen of Obama and his insidious plan. You've hit it right on the head. With all these closures, 21 embassy closures, no power, no structure, no liaisons in those areas, and yes, the Middle East is in turmoil, and you know who's going to suffer the most from this? Israel.
We are.
No, Israel.
Oh, absolutely. Israel's the number one target, yeah. Absolutely.
Our friends over there.
So far, we've got things pretty good here, and they're in la-la land, or they haven't awakened yet, and they won't until serious things start happening here, like bridges getting blown up and buildings all over this place.
The cowardice and the absolute amateurism of this administration is going to hurt each and every one of us, along with our allies. Tony, God bless you for your call. Thank you.
You're welcome.
Thank you very much. You know, when I heard that they were closing these bases in that Middle East, and Tony's right, I mean, the oil and all the shipping and everything else, but also our ally, our best friend, Israel, now over there going, what are you doing, Obama? You're just making it tougher and tougher and tougher on us. What a man. What a leader. Or not. Calls welcome, 436-2244, 1-866-927-4587. We were talking about living alive and well and writing a funeral story in a newspaper. I got something else for you to kind of hash over a little bit. You know, lately, the race card has come up and primarily thrown in the face of America by black leadership. And there was a situation last week where Riley Cooper, the wideout receiver for the Philadelphia Eagles, made a comment that he shouldn't have made. It was wrong. It was wrong. And he stood up and apologized for the remark. It was a racially motivated remark. He stood up and apologized not only to the press but also to his teammates. And I give him credit for being a man and apologizing. But therein, caller, don't go away, therein also lies another problem. Charlie Rangel, 83-year-old congressman, compared the Tea Party and those of us to being white crackers from the South wearing hoods. He doesn't apologize, and they get away with it. Caller, good morning. You're on the air.
Got on this gal that put her obituary in the paper and she's still alive. Is she going to have a casket, and is she going to lay in that casket?
Oh, don't even go there. Don't even go there. I mean, it just makes me have goosebumples all over my arms. I mean, I don't understand the mentality of somebody having... I mean, have a party. Call them up and say, hey, we're going to rent a portion of the park or something. We're going to have ice cream and cake. Or do something at your house. I just baked a whole bunch of chocolate chip cookies. Everybody come over. But to celebrate a living funeral, are you kidding me?
Well, there's something wrong in her head.
Uh-huh. I can see Helen go. I can see your wife going, oh, you think so, do you?
She's supposed to smile pretty.
This just gives me the heebie-jeebies. It does. It gives me the heebie-jeebies. I mean, holy buckets. And then when it said in the story, a viewing will be held at the Chamber of Commerce River Park on a certain day, coming up this next week, as a matter of fact, I'm sitting there going, wow, that's pretty cold.
Okay.
All right, Dal. Thanks, buddy.
You bet.
Oh, my goodness. You know, there is a never-ending supply of things to talk about on a talk show. But that one, I had to mention that to Gina because when I read this, and I read the verbiage, and I thought, a living funeral service? You gotta be kidding me. Calls are welcome, 436-2244, 1-866-927-4587. What do you think about that deal with Charlie Rangel? I mean, here's a guy, 83 years old, should have been bounced out of the Congress a long time ago, and he can make racial remarks. He can call whites white crackers and get away with it. Oh, but if any of us say certain things, why, we're racist and to be condemned, and we must apologize. It doesn't happen on the other side. It doesn't happen on the other side. Much in the same vein as the supposedly Democrats pointing the finger at the Republicans saying, you're having a war on women. Well, look at all these idiots like Anthony Weiner, Spitzer, the mayor of San Diego. They're all Democrats. And look what they've done to women, and the Democrats like Pelosi and Reid and the rest of them keep their mouths shut like they got it covered in duct tape. Well, take the duct tape off and start speaking out, you hypocrites. Calls welcome, 436-2244. Caller, I'll be right there. Don't forget, for the best tire value promise in the industry, it's your Magic Valley Les Schwab Tire Centers. They are the best. The best. They've got all your passenger car tires, pickup tires, SUV tires, horse trailer tires, boat tires. Not for your boat, I mean the trailer. Thank you. You've never seen too many tires on a boat. Anyway, you stop in and check out all the tires you need for your safe driving at your Magic Valley Les Schwab Tire Centers. And when you're driving, you want to make sure you've got the best in brakes. They've got the best brake value promise. Professionally trained technicians, over 30 years experience. Stop in and see Dave on Blue Lakes and Twin, Mike and Buell, Mike and Jerome, the Twist family in Paul, Lane and Rupert, John on Poline in Twin Falls, and Randy on Overland in Burley, your Magic Valley Les Schwab Tire Centers. Good morning, caller. You're on the air.
Yeah, I was watching that deal last night on the sports story about that, what's your name, Kelly?
No, Riley Cooper.
Yeah, Cooper. Okay, and the teammates has all forgiven him and everything was fine. But guess what? People like Michael Irvin and a couple of guys on that sports show yesterday were sitting there criticizing him and says, we'll call ourselves that word, but the other race don't have to do it.
Yeah, and what was interesting, too, Al, is that Michael Vick's brother, the former quarterback of the Eagles, starting quarterback, his brother, Marcus, came out and really started the flap all over again. And why is it that blacks, like Charlie Rangel, you heard what he said, why can they get away with that type of thing and everybody else is guilty?
Because we do that and we're racist.
Oh, absolutely.
Yet they can spout this spiel all the day long, not a thing done about it. You talk about double jeopardy, horse bucking.
Yeah, I agree. Hey, real quick, please, my dear friend, you're always thinking, you're always reading, you're always doing research. Did you see that living funeral in the paper?
Yes.
What did you think?
Well, I hope to hell she lives up to what she wants to have done.
I mean, doesn't it in a way, Al, please, you got a few years on me, and I respect you. What did your initial thoughts, what were your initial thoughts?
Kind of sick.
Yeah, kinda? Kinda. I like that word, kinda. Thank you.
Kind of sick.
All right, buddy. Hey, thanks.
Health cares. I mean, wait till it happens.
Oh,
okay?
my goodness, please. Yes, thank you much.
Have a good one.
All right, calls welcome, 436-2244, 1-866-927-4587. Maybe I'm missing something here. But you know, the good Lord gives us all a certain amount of time to be on this earth. And I'm going to enjoy everything I do, all my family, all the events that surround me, my work, and to sit in the surroundings of my friends imitating a funeral. Who don't want to do that. I have other things to do. We can gather in the backyard after a practice session of roping, and we can have some adult beverages and not pretend that one of us is dead. Ooh. Gives me goosebumples. Calls welcome, 436-2244, 1-866-927-4587. I'd like to hear your thoughts on this. And
I've got a question. So if she already had her funeral, then nobody has to attend her next one, right?
I don't know. Why are you asking?
Be awake?
I don't know. I mean, my goodness sakes, this kind of stuff gives me the heebie-jeebies.
And so another thing, I was just looking up on Mr. Charlie Rangel.
Wasn't that disgusting?
Why is he even still in? Why is he still even in Washington D.C.?
The people of Harlem should have thrown this old, decrepit, no-mind, big mouth out of office a long time ago. He's been a crook. He's manipulated funds. He's done everything wrong.
Amen. You know, I was just, because I've really never heard of him, and so I was just briefly, scandal, ethics problems, tax evasion, blah, blah, blah.
And those are his good points.
And those are his good points. And so I'm thinking, this guy needs to go. He is a lifelong politician. This is what he wanted to be when he grew up.
He's a perfect example, my dear. He's a perfect example. I think you're going to agree with me. He's a great example of why we need term limits.
Well, he is the perfect example of why we need term limits, and of course, he's in favor of the draft, which, you know, for me, okay, I can get that, but he wanted to approve the numbers game so it's not illegal.
The guy is, maybe at one time he was useful, now he's worth less.
Amen.
See you in 6 minutes, thanks.
You got it.
Holy buckets. That was an interesting first hour. Woo, I was reading more on that Fawn situation in Wisconsin, and I'm all the more convinced that we're going to try to get those people on the air, hopefully tomorrow or the next day, find out more about it. Welcome back. Zeb at the Ranch with our major sponsor, your Magic Valley Les Schwab Tire Centers, all 7 locations serving you, along with some of our great advertisers, and they include, of course, our friends at Lee's Furniture, Floors, and More at 459 Overland in Burley, and our friends at Western Waste Services.
From the canyons of the Snake River and all across southern Idaho, we're always at your disposal. Western Waste Services, we care about our community, our resources, every great man. Western Waste Services is lending a hand, always at your disposal. Western Waste Services.
Oh, thank you much, and we appreciate everybody at Western Waste Services. Always serving you, always at your disposal. Don't forget they've got summer rentals of all the restrooms with the standalone hand wash stations for your parties, your company picnics, and your family reunions. Oh my, get a hold of them today. Lots of things for you, including dumpsters in all the various sizes, too, to kind of clean up, throw away, and renovate. You better believe it. And, of course, trash collection, the weekly route service. You're going to love the service. Always at your disposal. Western Waste Services, 734-6969. Gina, I have, quickly, I'll give you this before I do another commercial. I have just been given another number, if that'll help you, okay?
Okay, what's the number?
540-547-5637. 4258. Okay, I'll do another commercial real quick. Ladies and gentlemen, also this live radio, we do what we have to do. Hanson Mortuary with our dear friend Joel Heward, the new owner and manager, Hanson Mortuary, 710 6th Street in Rupert, and believe me, they recognize the sacred trust that grieving families have and place in a funeral director. And they always uphold the highest ethical standards with unquestioned integrity. Every life is worth remembering, and please contact Hanson Mortuary, 710 6th Street in Rupert. Information about pre-planning funerals to help alleviate a lot of the worry and stress for our families. They can help you. 436-5636, Hanson Mortuary, serving you and your family.
Got him.
Thank you so much. I am very fortunate on this program to have a dear friend who I've never met and shook hands with, but I have a lot of respect for him, and that's Dan Kish with the Institute for Energy Research. Good morning, Dan. How are you?
Good morning, Zeb. I feel the same way about you.
Well, Dan, you are the man that knows, and you're very articulate about what's going on in energy, or the lack of. And I guess first and foremost, I'd like to know, what do you think is going to happen or not going to happen with the Keystone Pipeline?
Boy, you know, that's a great question, Zeb. I would have thought, based on everything that I heard a couple of months ago, that the president was going to go ahead and give the go-ahead, and we'd have that pipeline, you know, up and running, and folks be going to work building a $7 billion infrastructure. But, you know, lately he's been sticking his nose up in the air and talking about how, well, it won't create that many jobs, and there's not that much of an issue, and this isn't much of a jobs plan. Tell that to somebody who's, you know, sitting on a union bench somewhere waiting to go to work. So I just can't tell you what's going to happen. It would be the first time in history, to my knowledge, that we haven't built a pipeline across the border from Canada. I mean, we've got dozens of pipelines going back and forth, and but he seems all caught up with global warming and all these movie stars that are getting arrested in front of the White House, you know, pay a $50 fine and then get released. And it makes no sense. I mean, we could put $7 billion of Canadian money to work right away on jobs here in the United States.
Dan, when you look at the overall picture, and I'm not trying to pin you down or put you on the spot with this question, but last hour, a gentleman called in, and I think he's 100% right in his analogy. We recently stuck our tail between our legs and turned cowardly in front of the entire world by closing down 21 embassies in the Middle East. And I think this is going to have repercussions on oil deliveries through the seas, the Straits of Hormuz, etc. And I think it's aiding and abetting all of this to raise gas and curtail an energy program using fossil fuels that Obama's been looking forward to for a long time through a cap-and-trade system. I know that's a kind of a rough analogy, but I think this is all part of a pre-programmed idea and ideology to make you and I live in a cave and burn buffalo dung.
Yeah, well, I'll tell you, it's not that far from reality when it comes down to it, when you look at what they've been doing. I mean, we've got the most miraculous turnaround in oil production going on in the United States, but all of it is on private and state lands, and none of it is on federal land.
Right.
And the president runs out there when he feels like it and talks about how great it is, Zeb, but in reality, what we've got is a situation where, you know, his policy goes back to what he said in 2008, which is going to bankrupt the coal company. It's going to, you know, make energy prices skyrocket. And the whole idea is somehow it's a bad thing to use energy in this country. And I don't know. I mean, the public schools have been teaching this for years, wrong. I mean, what they don't teach is a history that shows that the United States became the most powerful country in the world because we amplified our human strength by using energy to do it. And It's this kind of ivory tower college sitting around in the professor's room talking about how great things would be if only, and it's just wrong. Meanwhile, people are paying through the snout for oil and gas and diesel that we need to run our economy, and it just makes no sense to me. I just don't get it.
Dan, when you look at the overall picture right now, diesel out here in this country is at, I'll give you the high that I saw yesterday, $4.19. And I drive a diesel pickup. And to fill up my diesel pickup, it takes right at $135, okay? And I fill up 3 times a week. You do the math, take that times a monthly rate, and why am I having trouble? It's all because of the energy problem in this country. I'm trying to make a living. I'm 65 years old, and this man, Obama, and his ideology are killing my retirement.
Yeah, I don't think, to be honest with you, I don't think the president's ever driven a tank full on a diesel truck and understood exactly what it means. The fact of the matter is, you've got a pickup. Think about the guy who's driving over the road, and he's hauling all that stuff that keeps us alive, and he's pumping in 200 gallons at that price, and the president doesn't seem to understand that that's reflected in the cost of what it is that we get delivered, whether that's food or fiber or the things that keep us alive. It doesnn't make any sense, and from the perspective of just the working man out there, working woman, this just kills them. And it's not as though we don't have the fuel. We've got it.
Mm-hmm.
He seems absolutely resigned to the idea that we shouldn't be able to get it. And that just crossed me, to be honest with you.
Well, let me ask you this, Dan. I'm not going to lay all the blame on Obama, even though I despise the man. I despise the man and his lack of leadership qualities. But I put a lot of the blame, almost 80% of the blame, on congressmen and senators that don't have any backbone and they're spineless because they won't stand up for their constituents. Would you agree or disagree with that?
Well, you're right about that. I mean, the fact of the matter is, this is not the president's role. I mean, the president shouldn't even have the ability to say whether or not pipelines go across the border. The fact is, in the Constitution, Congress has the right to regulate international trade. They've given it up. They've turned it over. They've allowed him to do it, just like the same way he, issues regulations on this and issues regulations on that. I'm going to ignore Congress. All the rest of it. They ought to be standing up for our rights. I mean, after all, we vote them in. The whole reason our founding fathers put those people in charge was to stand up for us. And if they aren't going to stand up for reasonably priced fuel when we've got it in abundance, I mean, what are they going to stand up for?
Well, I'm confused here because when I look at, let's take California, Boxer and Pelosi, and look at Nevada, Harry Reid, and you can go right around the spectrum. Every one of those areas have large travel necessary needs to get to their jobs, whether it's San Francisco with the Pelosi area, whether it's Barbara Boxer for down further south, whether it's Harry Reid around the Las Vegas area. I mean, we're talking extreme high energy costs of people that are trying to make a living. Are they not at all listening to their constituents? What is going on here? Where's the lack of communication?
Yeah, it's a great question, Zeb. I mean, when Nancy Pelosi was the speaker, she used to fly I think it was a 757 military jet with all her friends and family back and forth to San Francisco every weekend. Well, that's more fuel than you and I will consume in a year. And yet, she wasn't paying for it. It was being paid for by the taxpayer. And at the end of the day, energy makes the world go round. It amplifies our strength. It empowers us. I mean, the word energy means to do work. That's what it means in Latin. And if you cut out the energy, or if you make it more expensive so you can't do more work, it means that we're not going to be working. And, you know, this country was based upon hard work. It was, this is what's made us so different from the rest of the world.
But when you look at this overall picture, Dan, and nobody knows more about this than you do in your position and the information that crosses your desk, we've got incompetency and idiocy in an ideology that's going to eliminate the coal-fired generating plants because we don't have any electricity that's going to be replaced elsewhere to go on the grid, and we're going to be seeing a complete depletion of electricity. We're going to be seeing a lot of brownouts, and yet this administration is touting the fact that, oh, you should get electric cars, you should do this with electric. Where's it going to come from, Dan?
Yeah, good question. Ultimately, it's pretty amazing when you get right down to it, Zeb, because these are people who believe in all these things that are supposedly coming our way. They're not. They've spent a huge amount of money. I heard today on the news that it's $100 billion we spent on green energy, and we're now producing 2% of our electricity from green energy. How's that make you feel?
Not happy.
At the end of the day, basically what you've got here is a situation where the government seems to want more control over our lives. And that shouldn't surprise you because we see it in every aspect. But ultimately, our founders built a system that was designed to try to weed out people from seizing power from the public, from people with God-given rights. And when the government does this, it simply robs us of our decision-making because it makes us economically dependent on them. And that seems to be where at least this crew wants to take us.
And you know, this all ties in to the region and the area that I live in, a very, very big productivity area for raising all the agricultural commodities to help feed not only this country but the world. And Dan, you can't push those big John Deere tractors down the field with a propeller.
No, I haven't seen any running on solar panels either.
No.
And you know, basically what we need is concentrated energy forms that allow us to produce huge amounts of horsepower to till the earth, to move it from place to place, to keep people fed, to make this country strong. I mean, Zeb, when's the last time you had word of anybody going into the doctor saying, man, I've got too much energy, doc. Could you help me out? It's just the opposite. And that seems to be lost on people in Washington who just seem to think that this stuff comes out of the wall or out of the pump when you get there at $4 a gallon.
Yeah.
And it's nonsense, frankly.
What would you suggest to my listeners, and I've asked you this question before, Dan, but we're looking at 2014, I think, as the most critical election ever, because if the Democrats take over the House, Katie bar the door, I think we're going to see cap and trade. I think we're going to see everything go Obama's way, like they're going to tout his new kingship. People have got to become involved, and they've got to become aware, because what we have today, we will not have within the next 12 months. That's my prediction.
Yeah, well, I'll tell you, Zeb, you raise a very good question because ultimately, if you think it's bad now, it could get worse. The fact is they're trying to hold the line on some of these things. They're trying to keep the president from implementing programs, and one of the things that you talk about, cap and trade or cap and tax or whatever, some sort of a carbon tax, they've been looking for this. They hide it. They say they don't want it, but in reality, the only thing that could potentially make up the gap between what we've been spending and what we've been making is a carbon tax. And of course, a carbon tax would be like tying, you might as well throw a bolo around the bull's legs, because ultimately that's what's happening here. Mm-hmm. And we just have to insist upon a government that's responsible to the people for whom it works, as opposed to telling us what to do. I mean, we all graduated from school. When we got out, people stopped telling us what to do, and we took over. And it seems like these people just want to take us back to school and tell us all what to do. That's not America.
Dan, in your job, you probably hear a lot of surveys, you probably go through a lot of polls and everything else. There's a group of people in this country that scare me, and I'm just going to be very blunt, and you can agree or disagree. Last question. The younger 30 and under crowd, they don't seem to have a clue. All they're worried about is to go to the bar, have fun, meet their new date, meet their new husband and or wife, have a ball, go to a party. They couldn't care less. And this is the generation that I think is totally clueless as to how bad America is.
Well, I think you can thank government schools for that, to be perfectly honest with you, Zeb. We've had a situation where there seems to be a disconnected, something that's disconnected between obligations and, freedom doesn't mean you can do anything. It means that you are free to do the things that are good for yourself, your family, and your society. Mm-hmm. And ultimately, that will weigh us down like the lodestone that it potentially can, and it can be. And, these people are taught that basically the most important priority in life is to recycle your garbage. Well, I'm sorry. This whole green movement and everyone that it has infected has been a lodestone around our economy and around our people.
Absolutely. Dan, the very best to you. Keep on top of things, and if there's ever an opening, I would love you to submit your name to be Secretary of Energy. You'd be finally the first person in there that knows what they're talking about.
Well, I thank you for that, Zeb. I'm not sure they'd put me through the confirmation, but it'd be fun.
Dan Kish, Institute of Energy Research. Thank you, my friend. I'll call you in the future. Appreciate it very much. Thanks.
Thanks, Zeb. God bless.
All right, take care. One of my favorite guests to have on the program, Dan Kish from the Institute of Energy Research. And, I don't want to sound like we're being negative or there's no hope or we're all headed at a brick wall with nothing as far as an energy future. But this administration absolutely is worthless in their thinking of green energy, that it's going to be the savior right now, and take over for fossil fuels. And you and I are suffering because of their incompetency. I got to take care of some bills here real quick. Don't go away. Hey, don't forget our friends at Idaho Lending Group, 1182 Eastland Drive North in Twin Falls. Absolutely wonderful people serving you, and they save me money. That's right, they save me money on a refinancing of our mortgage. And as a borrower, you need to take the time to fully understand all of your loan options that can save you significant amounts of money over the life of your loan. Well, talk to Idaho Lending Group. NMLS number 181777, equal opportunity lender. Scott Martin and the rest of the crew always there to serve you. Courteous, caring, and knowledgeable. Idaho Lending Group in Twin Falls, 734-5626. Well, look what Quali's Electronics won. They won an award as far as being the Idaho Small Business of the Month for August. My goodness, that's quite a prestigious reward and award, I should say. So congratulations to them. And by the way, they handle Dish and DirecTV. They do not have door-to-door salesmen. They absolutely are not connected with any of those sleazy door-to-door salesmen. If you want information on Dish or DirecTV, you call them direct, right there at their office, 733-4910, or go into their office location, 1730 Kimberly Road in Twin Falls. Quali's Electronics, absolutely the best, and they can save you money. Please contact them today. Quali's Electronics in Twin Falls. Cassia County Fair and Pro Rodeo is coming up. Oh my, this is going to be a great year with a great event. Now, I've been telling you all last week that at the Cassia County Fair and Rodeo this year for their entertainment concert on Tuesday, August 13th, they are going to have Aaron Tippin. And they, in my opinion, hit a home run with Aaron Tippin. You're going to love the music. He's got great songs like You Gotta Stand for Something. We've mentioned that on our program a lot. You're going to stand for something or you're going to fall for anything. That's one of his great hits. You're just going to love the music. You're going to love his ideals. And this man knows how to put on a good concert. And don't forget all the events happening August 12th through the 17th for this year at the Cassia County Fair and Rodeo, Pro Rodeo at its best, and of course dog shows, horse shows, 4-H working ranch horse contests, dairy shows, everything at the Cassia County Fair and Pro Rodeo for 2013. In just a moment, we're going to be going to ADF, Matt Bowman. We're going to have him on the air just momentarily, but I also want to remind you, too, that coming up at 10:06 this morning, we have attorney from Los Angeles, James Herson, and he's going to be discussing how NBC has put together a mini-series regarding Hillary Clinton just before the elections. Isn't that odd timing? And then at 10:30 this morning, attorney Brian Smith from Idaho Falls, and he's running against Mike Simpson for the 2nd Congressional District. And we're going to have him on the air at 10:30 this morning. Don't forget the warehouse blowout sale going on at your Lee's Furniture, Floors, and More. 459 Overland in Burley. You can save so much money. You bet. Save money and get beautiful, beautiful furnishings for your home. No money down, no payment until 2014 on approved credit. Absolutely the place to go for all your sofas. Oh my goodness, they've got all the different sofas. They've got the, I think, largest display of recliners anywhere. You got to go in and try one on. You know, whether you're tall, whether you're short, whether you're skinny or maybe a little bigger, they've got one that'll fit you. Go in and try on a recliner. Absolutely all your carpet needs, everything at Lee's Furniture, Floors, and More. 459 Overland in Burley. Really, really good people. Let's go right now to the phone lines, and we're going to introduce our guest for this half hour, this next segment, and he is Senior Legal Counsel with the Alliance Defending Freedom, and that's Matt Bowman. Matt, good morning to you. How are you?
Doing fine, Zeb.
Always good to have you on the program, and Matt, we on this show have for a long, long time really been critical of Obamacare. I've been really critical of the mandates that Obamacare is going to present and is presenting and creating hardships to businesses and private individuals. Tell us a little bit about another company that absolutely did not want to go along with providing insurance coverage for abortions, inducing drugs, sterilization, and contraceptions. Tell us a little bit more about this story, please.
Sure. Well, the Hahn family in East Earle, Pennsylvania, in Lancaster County, is a Mennonite family that runs a wood cabinetry company. And for many years, they have not provided in their health plan drugs and items that can cause early abortions because, like many Christians, the Hahns believe in the sanctity of human life and in not providing and participating in items that can cause the destruction of a human life. Well, along comes Obamacare, and when the Hahns went to court on behalf with some attorneys,
we evidently have
apparently lost him.
We lost the connection there, didn't we? Matt, are you there? We did lose him.
Back.
All right, thank you.
We lost him.
I'll do a commercial break. Sometimes cell phones drop calls. You've all heard of that, and that's exactly what happens. So Gina, world's best board operator, is going to get him back on the line. Let's ride. Highway 24 between Rupert and Burley. Don't forget they're open Tuesdays through Saturdays 9 to 6. Number to call, 436-4771. And they've got in stock the Can-Am Maverick Max 4-seater. Woo, baby, you can have fun in the hills on this one. And they've got great deals on Hondas, and they've got everything going on over there. The 2014 models are showing up daily. You got to go where the fun is sold. That is it. Let's ride Highway 24 in between Rupert and Burley. Absolutely a great place to go. Nick and the rest of the crew, really good folks. And let's not forget, too, when you think about life insurance, think about Cameron and Siemens. Health insurance, retirement planning, employee benefits. These people just thrive on serving you. And I know Dean and Todd, Dean Cameron, Todd Siemens, very, very nice people. And their goal is to serve you and make sure you're protected. Please get a hold of them today. Cameron and Siemens Insurance, Highway 24 in Rupert, 436-4424. Let's check back with Gina and see if we've got everybody all set up again.
Yep.
Oh, thank you much. Matt, we had a little blowout. We don't know what happened, but you're back on the air. Take it again about the Hahn family, please.
All right. Well, this family went to court on behalf of, with two of the many attorneys who we've trained around the country, and the judges in Pennsylvania were not as accommodating to them as some of the other judges in the country have been, and they denied their injunction. Well, the long story short, Zeb, is that we have asked the Court of Appeals that falls just below the U.S. Supreme Court. We've asked the Court of Appeals governing Pennsylvania, New Jersey, and Delaware to take this case and hear it again thoroughly, because if they don't, what the effect is going to be is that families who want to do business will not even be capable of exercising any religious belief if the government comes along and tells them to violate their faith. And that's what's at stake in this case, and we filed a motion for the Hahn family last week to try to get this situation corrected.
Matt, I'm very blunt and short on various subjects. I don't like Obama as president. I don't like his ideology, and I certainly don't like Obamacare. I think it's going to ruin health care in the United States. All that being said, there has been a buddy system with Obamacare before the full implementation in 2014. And we're seeing various businesses and buddies, if you will, of Obama and his administration opt out of having to fall under the auspices of Obamacare, including the IRS complaining that they want to stay with their own and not take Obamacare. How come they get the buddy system and the Hahns have to go to court?
Because they are the president's buddies, Zeb. There's really not much more to it than the fact that Obamacare involves bureaucrats in Washington, D.C., picking and choosing who has to comply with these rules, and on almost a daily basis, rewriting the law, rewriting United States law to conform to what the bureaucrats want instead of upholding religious freedom and fundamental freedoms and the rule of law as the way our country will be governed. That's literally what's happening in this case, Zeb. It's hard to overstate it. We've got this federal administration rewriting the law, ignoring the law, changing the law unilaterally almost every day, and yet refusing to give deference to the constitutional right of religious freedom.
We're looking at Protestants and Catholics and Mennonites and many, many others that are standing up and saying, no, we're not going to go along with this. And my question to you is, as a lawyer, what if everybody just all of a sudden at noon today, Eastern all the way through the Pacific Coast time, and every time zone at noon said, that's it, we're done, take us to court, we're not going to do a thing about it, we're not going to follow the heinous inclusions into Obamacare. What would happen?
Well, Zeb, I mean, I think you know, if people really did stand up, if people really did get together and fight to protect their rights, then the people who are trying to impose their will on us instead of the rule of law in Washington, they would have a much more difficult time at it. And we are still in a government of the people and by the people and for the people. And what we're trying to do at Alliance Defending Freedom is gather as many of those people together as we can and come alongside them and help protect them and their freedoms in court. and we're starting with the most fundamental freedoms, the freedom of religion, the freedom of worship, the freedom of exercising your religion in your daily life.
Matt, would you say, and I'm not trying to pitch on the spot here, I just need an answer to this, would you say from your studies, not only as a lawyer but also a Christian, that these are just very, very coerced and concentrated attacks because the government, under this administration, absolutely has a war against Christianity?
Zeb, what I can tell you is that the government is taking some of the most extreme views against religion itself and Christianity in particular that have ever been advanced by any government that is here in Washington, D.C., running the United States. And the government has even made the claim in these cases where families are simply asking not to be coerced. They are making the claim that it would actually violate the Constitution to allow these families to have freedom. It's such a perverse idea, Zeb. I'm not sure if it took some time to sink into me as well, but the government is making the argument in court. It's standing up and making it over and over again that the Constitution requires the federal government to coerce people of faith to violate their faith in order to advance the agenda that benefits Planned Parenthood and its allies in the industry of abortion and related items. That is the position that they're taking, that the Constitution does not even allow people of faith to live in a free society.
You know, okay, Matt, you do this every day. You're a lawyer. You're in court. You have to read, study the Constitution. You have to know all about everything. I don't understand why more people aren't just absolutely outraged. Anybody that has even a sophomore in high school education knows about the Constitution, knows about our freedoms, knows about our Bill of Rights. And why are they not standing up and slamming their fist down on the table and saying enough? Why are we being led by sheep to slaughter with an administration that absolutely wants to do away with Christianity in this country? Why aren't we doing something?
I think, Zeb, that more and more people are doing something. I know that at Alliance Defending Freedom, we've been blessed by the support of many people like your listeners to be able to do something and to do more and more as these challenges come. But I think it's also true, and something else that we're trying to address at Alliance Defending Freedom, is that a lot of people are listening to the messages that are being put forth in the culture by groups like Planned Parenthood. And those messages are messages which basically indoctrinate children in a lifestyle that gets them involved in harmful sexual activity and then sends them to Planned Parenthood for their abortions and their other items. It basically makes them addicts to Planned Parenthood. And we developed a new campaign you can find at itsprettygugly.com, where we talk about how ugly the agenda of Planned Parenthood really is. itsprettygugly.com. And this is the agenda that we need to fight against, so more and more people are not sucked into this and with Planned Parenthood and their message and the millions and millions of dollars they're getting of government funding. But people can start to wake up and realize that what's really at stake here is their freedom.
You know, analogy that I just was thinking about, and I'm not even sure I can put it into words right now, it just hit me, that the Obama administration and Obamacare, can force and coerce businesses, Christian businesses, to support contraceptives and abortion-inducing drugs and sterilization and take our money and use it that way. Well, then why can't we turn around as taxpayers and say, we don't believe in Planned Parenthood and what they've done with their heinous abortions and everything against the youth and our society. We're not going to pay our taxes. Why can't we have a damned if we do and damned if we don't attitude?
Well, Zeb, if we were able to get together and have the people of influence making these decisions, ultimately we would be able to do that. But you know, that's the direction where we need to go, is to be able to have the people who are making decisions about who's going to spend taxpayer dollars to make those decisions, so they're not spending taxpayer dollars to attack religious freedom instead of to protect it. And that's what we're working to do. We're playing our role in doing that at Alliance Defending Freedom by coming alongside families like the Hans and defending them, representing them for free, so that there can be the beginning of a shield, of a defense system against this unprecedented attack that we're seeing from the Obama administration and the federal government.
Well, all I can say is thank goodness and thank the good Lord for people like you and the Alliance Defending Freedom. I mean, it gives me a glimmer of hope that there is good people and there's people willing to help other people in this country when you, the Alliance Defending Freedom, are involved. And how can people follow you and find out more about what you're doing and possibly also help you?
Well, people can find out more about the Hahn family, about all the areas of religious freedom we're working to protect by going to our website, alliancedefendingfreedom.org. Spell it all out, alliancedefendingfreedom.org. They can find out there what we're doing, and they can find out how they can help and how they are essential into helping our mission of protecting our first freedoms.
You always must realize, Matt, you've got a friend here. Anything we can do to promote, help you, whatever, we'll do it on the show. And God bless you very much. We appreciate you coming on the show this morning. And Senior Legal Counsel with the Alliance Defending Freedom, Matt Bowman. Take care, my friend. I'll be talking to you in the future.
Thanks a lot, Zeb.
Thank you. Very nice man right there, Matt Bowman, and I really appreciate what they're doing. They're fighting for the preservation of our religious rights, and I really appreciate it. Calls, 436-2244, 1-866-927-4587. I think what we will do, and then we'll take some of your calls, we will have a MichaelRogersWeather.com update. Here's Michael.
Hi, everybody. Michael Rogers for MichaelRogersWeather.com. More of the same. How about that? Sunny, not bad. Hot today. 95 for the high, 64 the overnight low. You'll repeat the process on Tuesday and also for Wednesday. Enjoy the day, enjoy the weather. It's the only weather you got.
There you go, MichaelRogersWeather.com. Always the best of weather right here on Zeb at the Ranch with the world's best weatherman. Calls are welcome and appreciated, 436-2244, 1-866-927-4587. And let's not forget, too, your Burley, Cassia County Fair and Rodeo sponsors, including the Burley Fairfield Inn and Suites by Marriott, 230 West 7th Street North in Burley. And here's listen to this. This is really good. I need some mood music in the background for this. They've got a romance package at the Fairfield, a box of chocolates, a bottle of sparkling cider, a king-size suite, and a huge pool in the room to enjoy. Leave the kids with Grammy and Grandpa. And boy, it doesn't get any better than that at the Burley Fairfield Inn and Suites by Marriott. Along with Kelly, I'll be with you in a minute, caller. Stand by. Kelly's Bearing Supply, 1407 East Main in Burley. Oh, my goodness sakes, Kelly's Bearing Supply keeps everything on hand so you don't have to waste your time or money. They got all the bearings, the chains, the brackets, and they got Zach and Brett right there, the bearing specialists at Kelly's Bearing Supply in Burley. Good people. You'll know where you're at when you get your bearings at Kelly's. And don't forget, too, Fence Solutions at 2833 Overland in Burley. They've been serving southern Idaho since 2007, and they offer premium vinyl fencing, decking, porch railings. Oh, my, yes. Give Corey a call today, 312-9275, for your yard and garden fence solutions in Burley. Good morning. You're on the air.
Good morning, Zeb. Just like to make a couple comments. I know you know who Phyllis Schlafly is.
Yes.
He wrote a book called No Higher Power, Obama's War on Religious Freedom, and it's absolutely excellent. But I certainly agree with you that he has had, through his administration, has done everything he can to promote and ignore what the Muslims have been doing in this country. Mm-hmm. And overseas, he's been supporting them. In fact, that's what Benghazi, I'm sure you heard the CNN report on that.
Yes.
Which was interesting. And so, there's just basically this overall attack on our Christian heritage and Judeo-Christian heritage and so forth. And as far as your previous speaker, or guest in the first half hour, it's just ludicrous that we don't have energy production here. We get no new refineries. as long as we have the Congress that's inept and will not take on the EPA, the situation won't get any better.
Well, let me ask you this question. Let me ask you the question real quick, Adrian. Maybe you think I'm wrong on this, and if you do, let me know. But here we have an act of cowardice, and that is being deliberately thrown to the world when we close down 21 embassies. What that tells me is that we're too chicken, too cowardly to go in and support those embassies, and also for the support of those respective nations. But the question I'm throwing at you, how would you like to be Israel, our biggest ally, our best friend, and they're over in the Middle East, and Obama closes down all these embassies in an act of cowardice with Al-Qaeda? How would you like to be Israel right now?
Well, it's obvious that the Benghazi thing was all about gun running, and I think that's what the CNN report, which really was a surprise coming from CNN. That's unbelievable.
I agree.
That they finally came out with the truth on that situation. And I think a lot of this embassy closing thing is just kind of a cover-up for the Benghazi thing a little bit. Mm-hmm. At least that's what I'm reading, some commentary through the email situation. So, but yeah, Israel's sitting over there wondering what's going on, but I think they realize right now that Obama is pro-Muslim, and he's going to do anything he can. He put the Muslim Brotherhood into power, and of course we find out that's not working out very well. And we got Kerry over there trying to hold hands with people, and the guy is just totally inept for the job, unqualified, and so people, we've got to go back to Congress and say, take control of our country and stop letting the president be a dictator.
Amen. And amen. I totally agree with your comments this morning, and I think that this situation is going to get far, far worse instead of better with this kind of cowardly leadership, if you want to even call it leadership. Adrian, I got to run and do a commercial. Thank you so much. I appreciate it.
Yep, great day.
Thank you. Don't forget the Chadwick Sports Grill. They've got delicious luncheon specials every Monday through Friday for just $5.95. And they've also got senior citizen dinner specials Monday through Thursday from 4 to 6 p.m. Also just $5.95. What have they got today? Well, today it's meatloaf with mashed potatoes, veggies, and super salad. Oh, it is good. The atmosphere is warm and beautiful. Nice people. And don't forget, coming up at this Saturday, they're going to have live music in there with Rick Bowler and Bill Barton. Good music. Great food, nice people. Chadwick Sports Grill, 139 West Main in Burley. Okay, give us a call, 436-2244, 1-866-927-4587. I'd like to hear your opinions on anything. There was an article in the paper this morning about states consider regulations of drones in the U.S. skies. And the dateline of this story from the Associated Press was from Cincinnati, Ohio, and it said, quote, thousands of civilian drones are expected in U.S. skies within a few years, and concerns they could be used to spy on Americans are fueling legislative efforts in several states to regulate the unmanned aircraft. Now, I remember, and I can't think of the guy's name, maybe Gina can look it up or something, but there was a senator or a congressman that was trying to propose legislation within his state, and I think it was in Pennsylvania, that when you see a drone, shoot it down. Not a bad thought. As a matter of fact, I advocate that. Right now, and this is a quote from the story, right now police can't come into your house without a search warrant, said Ohio Representative Rex Damschroeder, who has proposed drone regulations. But, he said, with drones, they can come right over your backyard and take pictures.
And can we give them the moon?
Well, now, that's interesting. I don't see why not. There's a lot of things that we can give those drones, including possibly a round of a 12-gauge. Personally, here's my take on this. Okay, criticize me if you will.
Okay.
But if Deanne and I and others are having a picnic in my backyard, and I notice these drones in the form of a plane, in the form of a bug, they've got them in all different kinds of scenarios.
Oh, yeah.
I am a very poor shot, so I would love to practice as much as it stays there and blow that son of a gun right out of the sky. My personal privacy is at stake, and I'm not about to have the filming or the taping of what I say by some drone in a free society of the United States of America. I say shoot them down.
I'm in agreement with you. However, I would probably take a slightly non-evasive approach, and I would probably drop trow and give him the moon and say, hey, if you're going to invade my privacy, this is what you get.
And quite frankly, I got to be real careful what I say from that point
on. We've got Fred on the line for you.
Okay, thank you. Caller, good morning. You're on the air.
AR-15, AR-16 to me. It would work better.
It would, but Fred, I'm such a lousy shot. I think I'm probably going to have...
you'd have lots of shots there.
Okay.
Get about a 30-round clip.
There you go. But honestly, in all seriousness, how would you feel if all of a sudden you had a drone that was just hovering over your property? What would you do?
Shoot him down.
There you go. I'm an advocate of it. I think the drones are illegal, and it's a spy state. Get rid of them. Shoot them down. That's my advocacy.
Hell yes.
All right.
We don't have to put up with that kind of stuff, or I don't. I don't know about the rest of them.
Well, I agree with you, Fred.
I'm from the old school.
Don't forget, we've got Brian Smith coming up at 10:30 this morning, Fred.
I'm not forgetting.
Okay, my friend.
There was another subject I want to talk to you about, and that was Tom Luna. But we'll hit that tomorrow.
All right, buddy. I'll look for your call. Thank you.
Okay.
All right. Caller number 2, you're on the air. Go ahead, quickly.
Zeb, I think you better do a lot of practicing. I remember when you tried to hit a swallow, and I think there was 2 boxes of empty shells and no swallows on the ground.
Well, caller, I certainly appreciate your denigrating remarks as to my marksmanship skills, or lack of. And yes, that is true, but you must remember those swallows are dastardly fast little guys. They can kind of flit around the skies, and they're hard to hit. So give me a break, would you please?
Well, yeah, and, right now, there's a problem getting shotgun shells.
Yes,
so,
yes.
You better do some prior planning.
Hey, caller, real quick, I'm glad you called, and in all seriousness, I am a lousy shot, but it would be fun to blow a couple of those drones out of the sky. I made a comment last week, and I took a lot of heat over it. Some people agreed, some people didn't. I said that if the sage grouse is such an endangered species, okay, let's cancel the hunting season. Quickly, I've only got 2 minutes left. Give me your thoughts.
I totally agree with you. I think it's time for sportsmen to step up to the plate and say, we'll do our part. Let's cancel the hunting season for the next 2 years, and let's see what happens. But in exchange, let's do predator control, and let's do things that will bring back the sage grouse instead of harming them.
When you say predator control, real quick, Jack, I've only got 30 seconds left. What's the best way to start a good predator control system?
Through the county government and on private ranches, and work with the ag department, wildlife services, and have them put out poison nests for predators and target specific predators, as Elko County in northern Nevada is doing, and Box Elder County in northern Utah.
All right, my friend, call me after the program. I want to do more on this. Thanks, Jack. God bless you, and thanks for telling everybody what a lousy shot I am. Thank you. Hey, don't forget, if you'd like to start earning $30,000 to $40,000 a year in as little as 4 or 5 weeks, call my buddy Lucky Bourne at CSI's new Sage Truck Driving School in Burley right now. You'll get one-on-one, over-the-road training, and all the necessary endorsements. And when you've earned your CDL, their team will even help you get your first truck driving job. New classes begin every week. Call Lucky Bourne right now at CSI's new Truck Driving School in Burley, 878-5802. Call them today. We are going to take a little break for about 6 minutes or so with the ABC News, and then we're going to come back and we have Los Angeles Attorney James Herson coming on the program. And like I stated a few moments ago to Fred, at 10:30 this morning, I've got quite a few questions I'm going to ask the challenger for Mike Simpson's 2nd Congressional District, and that is Attorney Brian Smith from Idaho Falls. I got a lot of questions to ask him. I don't know the guy. I want to know the guy, and I want to find out his position, and quite frankly, I want to find out how qualified he is. We want to find out if he can replace Mike Simpson. There's a lot of people that have animosity against Mike Simpson. I'm one of them. If this guy can fill the bill, he'll get my vote. We'll see what happens. I'll be back in 6. Oh, wow. Welcome back. Zeb at the Ranch, hour number 3. And we thank very much our major sponsor, your Magic Valley Les Schwab Tire Centers, all 7 locations, serving you along with our great advertisers, some of which include Lee's Furniture, Floors, and More at 459 Overland in Burley, and our friends at Western Waste Services, always at your disposal. Get on the route service today. Call them at 734-6969. Today's big day over at Jerome, the big Jerome County Fair and Rodeo starts, and don't forget, say cheese. That's the theme of this year's Fair and Rodeo. Say cheese over in Jerome County. Going to be a lot of fun, and they've got all kinds of activities starting today and going all the way through the weekend. Don't forget, they've got a PRCA Rodeo Wednesday, Thursday, and Friday. Friday being tough enough to wear pink night. And then on Saturday, they're going to have the Mud Bogs right there in the Depew Arena. Oh, my. It's going to be a lot of fun. Say cheese at the Jerome County Fair and Pro Rodeo all this week. By the way, I also want to mention some of our other great sponsors, and I'll tell you what I'll do. I'm going to go ahead and introduce our guest in just a moment. I was going to go through a litany of some of the sponsors for the fair, but we're going to talk on this real quick. Quali's Electronics, and as I mentioned earlier, United States Senator Jim Risch just named them the Idaho Small Business of the Month for the month of August, and that's, of course, Quali's Electronics at 1730 Kimberly Road in Twin Falls, 733-4910. Beware of the door-to-door salespeople selling dish or direct TV, and some of those guys, a little bit shady, they'll tell you that they're connected with Quali's Electronics. Not true. I know better. I've known the Quali's for a long time. They can help you right there at their store location with dish and direct TV and save you a lot of money. Remember, Quali's Electronics at 1730 Kimberly Road in Twin Falls. Right now, we're going to go to the phone line, and a gentleman that I really enjoy having on my program, and that's, of course, attorney and author, radio show host, political pundit, James Herson. James, good morning. How are you?
Good morning. How are you, Zeb?
Not bad, except that I'm a little bit more than worried that the liberal left is extremely well organized, and they have done some arm twisting with the media, which wasn't hard with NBC, and they're going to have a kind of a mini-series that's going to talk about the perils of Pauline in the real name of Hillary Clinton just before the election and help her regain the Oval Office. My goodness, this all has to be incidental, isn't it?
Yeah, right. It's a coincidence. I don't think so. Yeah, I mean, NBC, the owner of MSNBC, a 4-hour, by the way, miniseries, a big budget miniseries with big name writers, with big name people involved, and already they announced that the 65-year-old former Secretary of State, former First Lady Hillary Clinton, 65 years old, will be played by 48-year-old Diane Lane. And Diane Lane is well known for being, a very attractive woman in every respect, and has made these top lists of attractive women. Particularly, I quote in my article about Ask Men, which is a website that ranks women's attractiveness, and Mrs. Clinton hasn't made that list. And it's clear that by choosing Lane, there's a lot of great actresses they could have chosen, but they're going to create this idealized, romanticized image of the First Lady. It's so embarrassing that NBC News, in the form of Chuck Todd went to his Twitter account and said, hey, we didn't do this. NBC News has nothing to do with the Clinton miniseries. The executive from NBC presented this at the Television Critics Association, and one of the things he mentioned is that they're going to make sure that it's broadcast before Hillary Clinton makes a formal announcement that she's going to run for president. The reason for that is, under federal election law, they would have to give equal time to her opponents, which would be, I suppose, her primary opponents, have a mini-series on Joe Biden, and I don't think they want to do that. Or, if it was the general election, her opponents, it would be, maybe Rand Paul and Ted Cruz having mini-series. So, they're doing this, and that made me think, well, that means that, they have to be able to coordinate with the Clinton campaign. And there is a Hillary Clinton campaign already. She has had these lunches with President Obama and with Joe Biden of recent, and we already know presidential campaigns start years before we even see, Republicans flying in and out of Iowa and New Hampshire. So for sure that the infrastructure of a campaign is already in progress. And if we really believe that they're not talking to the people at NBC, it would have to be very naive. So that's happening.
Let me ask you a question, James, and I'm going to put you on the spot a little bit, and I don't mean to, but I think it's worth remembering. Do you remember the first miniseries on television that Diane Lane was one of the featured stars?
No, I do. Well, it was a dramatic series, Lonesome Dove.
That's right.
What you're thinking.
That's right.
Actually, Diane Lane is an interesting actress. She had a couple of bad outings when she first started. She actually started when she was like 17 years old. It was on the cover of Time as one of the up-and-comings. They called her the new Grace Kelly, all this stuff. And she actually left Hollywood for a very long period of time. I think it was more than a decade. And Lonesome Dove was what brought her back. But I do remember that, and I remember Diane Lane. She's very memorable for anybody that. She's a very good actress, and so it's and it's smart for her to do this, because when you do something praising Hillary Clinton, you automatically they'll get nominated for Emmys. Emmys are very, very political. I'm a member of the Television Academy, and it's really shameful. They always give Emmys to these HBO agenda-driven docudramas. I'm sure they'll give Emmy nominations for this one. And by the way, after NBC announced that, a couple of days later, CNN, which has a division that makes feature films called CNN Films, and now Jeff Zucker, who used to be with NBC, runs CNN, and they announced that they're doing a feature film documentary on Hillary Clinton.
Oh, my.
This to be released in theaters and then ultimately later to be shown on CNN. It just seems like there's, this demand for superheroes and action movies that's dwarfed by the tremendous demand that people have across this country to have Hillary Clinton movies. Now there's two. I don't know what's next. Perhaps a Hillary Clinton musical on Broadway.
Listen, James, let me ask you this, though. When you look at the overall situation of Hillary Clinton as wife of Bill, standing in the background, as Bill said, I did not have sex with that woman, and then she had to take all the heat over that, the repercussions of Bill and his infidelities, and then Benghazi, under her reign as Secretary of State. Honestly, can anything really propel her into the White House if Benghazi is still unsettled?
Well, as she would say, what difference does it make? By the way, I don't expect Diane Lane to be uttering those words. I think Benghazi will be glossed over in this. The press release indicated it will start in 1998 when she was standing by her man through the Lewinsky scandal. But, the one thing about Democrats, and nothing proves it like Anthony Weiner, when Democrats run against each other, they have the best opposition research in the world, and they're ruthless. And these Benghazi scandal questions, it looks as though Joe Biden is going to run. And he will attack her hard, or his people will, and they'll make sure all this stuff is disclosed. So whoever gets the Republican nomination will be in a good position to use the same things. I mean, I think that unless they make a deal with Joe Biden and they offer him a job at the UN or something, I don't know. But the way it looks now is that he would run, and there are others potentially that could run against Hillary Clinton. So it's it's going to be interesting to see. And of course, because it starts in 1998, none of the issues and the baggage that Hillary has in her background, which are from her husband's first term, with the Whitewater scandal and her being subpoenaed in front of a grand jury and the missing Rose law firm records, none of that will be in this miniseries. Another hint of what it's going to be like, and done through a Hollywood lens.
I've got a great opening, and you being a L.A. attorney and talk show host and author, think about this. The scene on the camera pans to the second floor window of the Biden house. The door opens on the second floor, and out steps Joe Biden carrying a shotgun. He shoots it into the air, and he says, "Now that I have your attention, I'm Joe Biden, and I'd like your vote for president."
Okay, well, that'd be a great campaign ad. At first, I thought you were talking about a scene from the Hillary Clinton miniseries, but that'd be a great campaign ad. Yeah, I mean, there's an individual recently who's using a Joe Biden defense who was arrested for a shotgun violation, and he said, "I was just doing what Joe Biden advised." But the interesting thing is Diane Lane. Her agent must be worried because Diane Lane can't go and do a role wearing a pantsuit. She can't cover up those legs with a pantsuit, and that's what Hillary Clinton is known for. And plus, she'd have to get some kind of prosthetic device to properly fill out the pantsuit. So there's a lot of questions in this mission. By the way, they haven't announced who's going to play Bill Clinton. But there is a rumor in Hollywood that the NBC execs have been talking to the agent of Richard Gere.
Oh, my.
And two reasons. One is that, he has the same gray hair like Bill Clinton. And the other is it would reunite Diane Lane and Richard Gere. Diane Lane received an Oscar nomination for a film ironically titled Unfaithful, which is kind of, the theme of our time with the Clintons and the Wieners being compared. So I think it fits.
Let me ask you this question. I'm almost out of time, but I really I value your opinion. When you look at Anthony Weiner, and you look at Spitzer, and you look at the mayor of San Diego, and basically their assault and attacks on women, and the Republicans were criticized, you're having a war on women. Well, these guys come out scot-free, and none of the Democrats come out and denounce their own kind for what they're doing. What's going on here?
Well, there's double standard. There's no question it's been that way. A party that stands for, theoretically, family values, the Republicans, are looked upon and scrutinized greater by a biased press who sees it as hypocrisy. But as you point out, this is really hypocrisy on the part of Democrats when they engage in this theme, this meme of accusing Republicans of being insensitive to women. The Republicans were accused based on inadvertent statements about hypotheticals concerning abortion. These guys are acting out. It's quite a different concept. Reluctantly, though, I have to say, they're down here in San Diego, which is close, it's in Southern California. The Democratic Party is asking for this guy to resign. The Democrats in New York and the liberal papers, even the New York Times, is asking Anthony Weiner to step down. Elliot Spitzer is a different story because the powers that be think, well, he's going to run for comptroller. That's really very humble. He's going to start over, and it's more, acceptable to them for whatever reason. But Republicans who never fight, aren't engaged in the same playing field as Democrats, should be out there using this, and they're staying quiet. And they should be bringing up just what we're discussing. This is the party that accused us of engaging a war against women.
Yeah.
This is how they really feel about women. And but by the way, Anthony Weiner is hanging in there. This guy, this Mayor Bob Findler, is staying in office. Elliot Spitzer's running for office. One thing Republicans do when they're accused of impropriety, they resign.
Yeah.
And that's the comparison that the Clintons don't like, is that Clinton, who did arguably far worse morally than what Anthony Weiner is accused of, stayed in office, survived an impeachment attempt, and is now a Democrat hero. So it's a bad lesson if these people, hang around and show no, remorse, contrition. Although Anthony Weiner's done pretty good at fake contrition.
Yeah. Let me ask you one last question here, James. Pardon me. I had a little delay there, and I didn't mean to walk on you. My apologies. But now we know what the liberal left is going to do in promotion of Hillary Clinton. But let's just assume that maybe someone like Ted Cruz gets the nomination for the Republican side, and they wanted to have a little mini-series, and they had it hosted by, and the narrative by, somebody like Tom Selleck. And Tom Selleck is a widely respected actor, and a lot of the women, boy, they swoon over Tom Selleck. What would happen if they did that in converse to what they're doing for Hillary Clinton?
Well, in simple language, if somebody did that, it would not get green-lighted, meaning the executives wouldn't put it on the air or wouldn't put it in the theaters. And the only way it would get out, much like films like The Passion of the Christ or The Blind Side, is it would have to bypass Hollywood and get money from outside of Hollywood for production and distribution. If that happened, that would be fantastic. And I think that would be that's the kind of thing that's necessary, because the image is so critical, and building the image long before the actual campaign. And the Clintons understand that. Bill Clinton did that in 2 campaigns. The Obama campaign understood it in 2 campaigns. And Republicans aren't in the game. And so they need to get in there and do exactly what you just described.
I really thought you were going to say possibly one of the selective actors would be Tom. All of a sudden, his last name left me. The one that was left on a desolate island. Tom Hanks.
Tom Hanks.
Yes.
That he would be the actor.
Yeah, he's very liberal.
Yeah, that wouldn't be good, I think. I don't know about his interpretation, but to do Ted Cruz, actually, you know who I think would do a great Ted Cruz, but it was when he was younger, would be Bill Murray. And Ted Cruz has a little Bill Murray look going.
Excellent thought. Listen, James, I appreciate you. Every time you're on the air, you do a wonderful job. Thank you for your analogy of what's going on with Hillary Clinton and the miniseries and Diane Lane and the Democrats in general. I always look forward to having you on the air. Attorney, author, political pundit, just all around good guy from Los Angeles, James Herson. God bless, and I'll talk to you in a couple of weeks.
All right, God bless, Jeb.
Thank you. Just really enjoy having him on the air with us, and that's Attorney James Herson in California. Can you imagine the timing of that miniseries just before the election? Oh, well, it was all incidental. Yeah, right. Hey, we want to say thank you to some of the great sponsors of the Cassia County Fair and Pro Rodeo, and those are the merchants right there in that area, and we've got a whole list of them we want to highlight right now. Perkins Family Restaurant at the Best Western Inn at 800 North Overland in Burley. Oh, my. The place to stop after being at the fair and the rodeo all day, and they've got great desserts, and they got breakfast, lunch, and dinner. It is phenomenal at Perkins Family Restaurant in Burley. Also, thanks to Pickett Equipment Company, 976 East Main in Burley. I tell you what, the Twin Master Edible Bean Combine, Double Master Plus Side Pull Combine, innovative ideas, innovative equipment for you. Pickett Equipment, 678-0855. Magic Valley Irrigation, 44 East, 500 South of Burley, offering irrigation system repair and service to Burley since 1978. They manufacture wheel line elbows, and they sell and service Cornell and Berkeley. Just a phone call away, Magic Valley Irrigation, 678-3101. And last but not least, Redder's Showcase, 2611 Overland in Burley, and they've got the Serta mattresses at Redder's Showcase. Don't forget that. And prizes during Fair Week. Oh, yes! Comfort and, of course, nice people. Redder's Showcase, 2611 Overland in Burley, 878-2000. In just a few minutes, we are going to send it back over to our main studios for the announcements at the bottom of the hour. And I want to remind everybody, of course, that the Burley Cassia County Fair, I keep saying Burley, but it's Cassia County Fair and Rodeo, pardon me, is going to be featuring Aaron Tippin. And Gina, I don't know if you folks noticed it or not, she featured one of his great songs just prior to going into the news at 10 o'clock, and I thank her for that. Aaron Tippin is going to be the featured entertainer at the great big concert, the Cassia County Fair and Rodeo Concert, Tuesday, August 13th. Tickets are available at the Cassia County Fair office, 678-9150, or stop in at person at the fair office, 1101 Elba Avenue in Burley, and tickets are also available at Taco Bandito in Burley. So I'm telling you, they've got all kinds of tickets, and you really can enjoy one of the greatest country music entertainers, I think, ever. I love his music, Aaron Tippin, at the Cassia County Fair and Pro Rodeo. And the event, August 12th through the 17th. Going to be fantastic. Okay, now that we've taken care of that, next half hour we are going to be visiting, hopefully if he's on his telephone as we have pre-scheduled, and that will be Attorney Brian Smith of Idaho Falls, and he is challenging Mike Simpson for the 2nd Congressional District. And we're going to have him on the air this morning and find out a little bit more about the man, who he is, what makes him tick, why he wants to have that job, possibly to take over from Mike Simpson. We're going to have him on the air at 10:32 in that area. Tomorrow on the program, we're going to have a little change. I want to alert you to this. Normally at 10:06 on Tuesdays, we have Dr. History, and Dr. History will run tomorrow only at 10:35, and we're going to have Joe Wolverton here in our studio from 9:30 to about 10:28, and we're going to be talking to him about gun control. He was at the United Nations meetings in person and saw firsthand what's trying to be done to us, and we're going to have him here in our studio tomorrow morning. So there are some changes I wanted to alert you of, especially the change of Dr. History. We're going to send it back over to our main studios. We'll be ready to take it back in a couple of minutes. Don't go away.
And now back to Zeb at the Ranch on AM 1230 KBAR. To reach Zeb, call 436-2244 or toll free 1-866-927-4587. And now, here is Zeb Bell.
Thank you much. We're on the home stretch, half hour to go, and before we do anything, I think what we'll do is have Michael Rogers Weather with a weather update. I'll be right back. Michael, take it away.
Hi, everybody. Michael Rogers for MichaelRogersWeather.com. More of the same. How about that? Sunny, not bad. Hot today. 95 for the high, 64 the overnight low. You'll repeat the process on Tuesday and also for Wednesday. Enjoy the day, enjoy the weather. It's the only weather you got.
Thank you, Michael. Appreciate it very much. Thank you for stopping by. Ladies and gentlemen, we have on the air with us, I believe, Gina, is the gentleman ready to go?
Yes.
Thank you very much, Gina. Great job. Idaho Falls attorney, and that, of course, is Brian Smith. And he's going to make a run at Mike Simpson, 2nd Congressional District, and try to upset the man that has 30 years' experience in that position. And good morning, Brian. How are you?
Good. Is this Zeb?
It better be, or the wrong fat man's wearing my clothes. Good morning to you, sir.
Good morning to you. Glad to be on your show.
Well, it's nice to have you on the program, and quite frankly, you and I have never met. We've never had the opportunity to meet face-to-face and shake hands, but I will say this. Your challenge to Mike Simpson is very interesting. I mean, you're a first-time political candidate, and you're facing a challenger with over 30 years of experience. Why? Why did you want to put yourself in that position?
Well, thank you for asking me that question. And I get asked this question a lot of why I would be interested in running against an entrenched Republican such as Mike Simpson. And the reason is that he is simply out of touch with Idaho, and he's become part of the problem in Washington. We need a congressman who will fight for us and our conservative principles, and particularly the principles and values and traditions of the people found in Idaho's 2nd Congressional District.
Brian, what do you think, honestly, has been his shortcoming when you said that he hasn't been fighting or he hasn't done this or that? Name some specifics as to what you think really has been a negative for him in the last few years.
Okay, well, we can. It's a long list, and I'm limited to 15 minutes, but we'll start with the highlights. In 2010, he voted, or actually I think it was 2009, he voted in favor of the Wall Street Bank bailout. That was a vote that allocated over $700 billion of hard-earned taxpayer money to bail out the rich Wall Street banks. That vote was totally out of touch with the people from the 2nd Congressional District. Mike Simpson also was one of only 3 Republicans who voted in favor of funding ACORN with tax dollars. One of 3 Republicans supporting ACORN funding. Now, Zeb, to me, that is absolutely unconscionable. He's also violated and broken his tax pledge. When he ran for office in 1998, he signed a tax pledge saying that he would not raise taxes while he was a congressman. He's now gone on record, and he said that he believes we need more revenue. When he was confronted and asked about raising taxes on Idahoans and breaking his promise, he said that he didn't think he was signing a marriage agreement in 1998 that would last forever, and then he laughed that off as if his promise were insignificant. He's also come out in favor of an internet sales tax, breaking his promise to Idahoans again. Just 2 weeks ago, he voted against an amendment that would have stopped the federal government from snooping and spying on people who are not under investigation or suspicion. He voted against that. He's also voted in favor of cash for clunkers. He's described himself as an ardent earmark supporter. And so I think these kinds of things are totally out of touch with Idahoans in our district and give you a sense and a flavor of why he needs to be replaced.
Okay, now, Brian, let me ask you this question. You know, you made a statement many times in the press that I have in front of me that you are the true conservative. How would you define yourself, your policies, and your likes and dislikes as a conservative? You say you're the true one.
Okay. Well, I have signed the same tax pledge that Mike Simpson signed. And I don't know about you, Zeb, but when I make a promise, I keep it. And I promise to never raise your taxes. I also would not. Mike Simpson has consistently voted to raise the debt ceiling limit. I have been clear on my position. I would not vote to raise the debt ceiling limit unless we had substantial and immediate spending cuts. Just those two things show that I'm a true conservative. I think you may also know that I got the endorsement of Club for Growth. Mm-hmm. They are a very fiscally conservative-minded group, and that endorsement in and of itself over Mike Simpson proves that I'm the true conservative in this race.
Let me ask you this next question then. You know, there's been other challengers. Let's face it. Twice Chick Hylison ran against him, and twice went down in blazing defeat. What can you learn, or did you learn, or what are you going to do different in your campaign that's going to propel you past the percentage numbers that Hylison had?
I believe that once people know that I'm in this race and that I am a true conservative, we believe that a lot of people will vote for me. And then when they also are able to contrast my conservative values with the voting record of Congressman Simpson, and once they see that he has been in favor of cash for clunkers and that he's voted to increase the debt limit, that he voted for ACORN, and that he is an ardent supporter of earmarks, and that he's broken his tax pledge, and he wants to have an internet sales tax, and these things that make him at best a moderate and at some votes a liberal Republican, then I believe that they'll vote for me.
All right, we have a caller with a question. Quickly, caller, make it short and precise. I'm almost out of time. Go ahead.
You know, I was helped Chick Hylison because Simpson's got to go, and his campaign ran so terribly that I really wondered why he even went to the trouble and spent the money. Now, Crapo, Risch, and Simpson, as good as they might be, and Crapo and Risch might be, Simpson is worse, but none of them are afraid to lose their jobs. And they literally do whatever the hell they want to do, pretty much. Risch and Crapo are better. Simpson is a joke. So what do we got to do to help you get elected? And are you going to run your election better than Chick? And I'll hang up. Thanks.
All right, thank you, caller. Go ahead and respond, please.
Well, I can tell you that I have a campaign staff. We are working full-time on this effort. I am taking a sabbatical from work. I've hung up my law practice for 10 months while I address this whole issue full-time. But what you can do to help me is get the word out. I have a website. It's BryanSmithForCongress.com. And it's B-R-Y-A-N, my first name, SmithForCongress.com. You can take a look at my website, and you'll see that this is a professionally run, organized campaign. We take this seriously, and we are not here to scare anybody. We are in here to make a change for the 2nd Congressional District and to win this race.
Brian, I never bounce away from questions. I always meet things head on, and I'm going to ask you this question, and I expect a direct answer. What about this flack about you flying on a supporter's airplane? What's going to come of that?
And I'm glad you asked that question. The issue about the airplane is simple. I have rented this very same airplane multiple times before I ran for Congress. I paid the same rate as I did when I made my announcement. I hired the same commercial pilot that I've always used in the past, and we did the very same thing we've done in the past. In this particular case, the rules are very complicated. There is a dispute over what it means to lease an airplane, and we're going to deal with that. But the fact is we didn't do anything we haven't done before, and we'll deal with that. But what we really know is that once our message gets out, people are going to gravitate towards a true conservative, and they'll vote for me over Mike Simpson.
All right, I'm going to throw a word at you, and I want an answer on it. Energy. What are your thoughts on energy?
I am a proponent of nuclear energy. We need a stable source of energy that is load-based. That means it's available 24 hours a day, 7 days a week. And Idaho has a great opportunity in that area with its INEL facility, and that I am a proponent of nuclear energy. And I think we ought to be looking at things like that instead of these alternative sources like wind and solar that are not load-based energies.
All right, and EPA, and Mike Simpson is on, basically the number one man in the chair for funding to the EPA. What would you do if elected against or support of the EPA? Would you support it?
The EPA is an interesting organization because it was actually created by President Nixon as part of an executive order. It was never really even created by Congress. People know that it's overstepped its bounds. and the EPA should be under scrutiny.
Absolutely. Caller with your question, go ahead quickly, please.
Yes, and I just tuned in, so I apologize if this is a repeat. But I need to know if Mr. Smith is going to be able to be tough, because I feel like Mr. Simpson hasn't been, and we need somebody up there that can confront people and isn't there just to go along.
That's a good question. Brian, what about it? Backbone and spine, it seems to be not in the mode of character of a lot of politicians.
Well, what I can tell you is part of my platform is I am not a politician. I haven't been in Washington as part of the problem for 30 years. I am not running for Congress because I see it as a career move. I was perfectly happy in my law practice here in Idaho Falls, and I'm putting that on the sidelines and moving forward in this election to win it, to go back to Washington so our voices can be heard in the 2nd Congressional District.
One other word I want to throw at you this morning, Brian, and that's the word Obamacare. I find this to be the most insidious and heinous act ever perpetrated on the American public. What are your thoughts?
If you look at my website, briansmithforcongress.com, you'll see that one of my platforms is that we need to repeal Obamacare entirely.
Okay, and specifically for what reasons? What really bothers you the most about Obamacare?
It's a government takeover of health care. What we'll see happen is the prices of health care will continue to increase. The quality of health care will continue to plummet, and we will not be able to keep our own health insurance policies no matter how many times they tell us we will.
And what about the economy? If you're going to represent us back on the Potomac, what about our economy? We're going in the tank. We're at $17 trillion in debt. What are your thoughts about a restoration of a valid economy to the United States?
The biggest threat to our economy today is the out-of-control spending in Washington, D.C. We're now spending $1 trillion+ a year more than we take in, and I have always said this: something that can't go on forever won't. And so the biggest threat to our economy is our out-of-control spending, and I get that, and I understand that, and the people from the 2nd Congressional District get that. Unfortunately for them, for the last several years, they've had a congressman in Congressman Mike Simpson who's voted for programs like Cash for Clunkers and Wall Street bailouts, et cetera, and it needs to stop.
Mike and I were at odds. I'm going to be very honest with you, Brian. Mike and I were at odds on a program that happened earlier this year when I took him to task over his letter against and to Michelle Bachmann, who had asked questions about the Muslim Brotherhood being appointed to various offices and cabinet positions in the Obama administration. And Mike called myself and others McCarthyists because we were looking at and wondering why Muslim Brotherhood were being appointed to those jobs. What are your thoughts about the Muslims and Islam and Sharia law being more prominent in our government than ever before?
You know, I wasn't familiar with, and I'm not familiar with Mike Simpson's letter to Michelle Bachmann on that point. I am familiar with what Sharia law is, as you could well imagine, as an attorney, having practiced law for 22 years. I recognize the first and foremost, the United States Constitution is the law of the land, and that should reign supreme over any attempt to try to infiltrate our traditions and values and our jurisprudence with Sharia law.
All right, Brian, I appreciate your taking the time to come on this program, and I want you to know that you're going to be invited back in the future, and thank you very much for your time. Idaho Falls attorney Brian Smith running against Congressman Mike Simpson for the 2nd Congressional District, and thank you very much for coming on the program this morning.
Thank you, Zeb. It's been a pleasure.
All right, sir. Thank you much. Ladies and gentlemen, that was Brian Smith from Idaho Falls, and he is challenging Mike Simpson. And I'd like to hear what you think. There, you had a chance to listen to some various questions about different aspects of policies, politics, energy, economy, everything else. What are your thoughts? Give me a call right now and let me know what you thought about that gentleman, Brian Smith, Idaho Falls attorney, running against Mike Simpson. Give me a call, please. 436-2244, 1-866-927-4587. I'd like to hear what you have to say. And I certainly hope you're interested enough to give us a call. I'd like to hear that. Let's see. I'm going to do a quick commercial for our friends at Les Schwab, and then I know you'll be calling in during that time, so give me a jingle. Don't forget the best tire value promise in the industry, your Magic Valley Les Schwab Tire Centers. You know, the thing is, every one of these locations, all 7 locations, they know tires. They know all about the different tread designs. They know about all the different safety features that you need for your type of driving. They know. And they've got the best free peace of mind tire protection, free lifetime tire and mileage care. I mean, why in the world would you buy anywhere else? These people are the professionals. These people really care. And the best brake value promise, the best in shocks and struts, front end alignments, batteries, it's all there for you at all 7 locations. Dave on Blue Lakes and Twin, Mike and Buell, Mike and Jerome, the Twist family in Paul, Lane and Rupert, John on Poline in Twin Falls, and Randy on Overland and Burley, your Magic Valley Les Schwab Tire Centers. Good morning, caller. Thank you for your call.
Good morning, Zach. Hey, just like to weigh in on Brian Smith. And it sounded good from what I heard. I drive trucks, so I'm in and out of the truck. But the one thing that he said about the Constitution should reign supreme over and above any other law. You know, that's the whole point. And Mike Simpson got out of that. Of course, he would talk like he was all for it, but he's not. We know from his record in the past that he's not necessarily for it. He's got his own agenda now, and he failed to listen to us over the last several years, so it's time.
Let me ask you a question. Let me ask you a question right there, sir.
Okay.
My question is this, and I'm playing devil's advocate a little bit, but what has Mike Simpson done or not done that possibly jaded your opinion against him and in favor of someone else?
Well, it's kind of like the non-issues to him that seem to mean much to the people in the Magic Valley here. He didn't really take a stance on, but his letter to Michelle Bachmann kind of showed me that, hey, he's not even playing the same game anymore.
Yeah. That also was...
That wasn't the tipping point. I was already leaning against him before that. But,
okay.
That was the real splitter in the finger there.
All right. Well, listen, sir, you're always welcome on this program. Thank you so much for calling in. We appreciate it. Thank you.
Thank you, Zeb.
You bet. Thank you, sir. Caller number 2, go ahead, please.
Yeah, Zeb, he sounded good to me. I don't know why he struck you, but of course, to me, anybody would beat Mike Simpson.
Well, let me just...
His voting record, Zeb.
Yeah.
You and I both know if he's voting down in 30% in 2012, he was voting for the Democratic Party. He wasn't voting Republican. You and I both know that.
Fred, there's always going to be, in a discussion like this, before the election, there's going to be discussions as to what kind of power will Idaho lose, what kind of balance of power they'll lose by having a newcomer take over that seat, etc. But you know, I honestly believe that change is necessary, and we can talk about other representatives. Look at Congressman Charlie Rangel. There's a guy that should have been thrown out of office years ago, and there's got to be change.
But we can't vote for him.
No, but what I'm saying...
We can in this one.
I agree, but what I'm using is an analogy. Charlie Rangel should have been gone a long time ago, and change is good. Change is necessary to refurbish and replenish new ideas, and maybe now is the time with Mike Simpson.
As far as I'm concerned, it's way past time.
All right, well, Fred, God bless you for your call. I know that I'm always going to get a straight shot from you, and I appreciate it. Thank you.
Okay.
All right, buddy. Thanks much. What are some of your other thoughts? You know, I know I'm running a risk here, but that's part of the deal. You know, I'm going to upset some of the Republican hierarchy, and they're going to cringe in the corner, and they're going to go, oh, whoa, don't do that. That's too bad, because I'm going to promote anybody on this program that wants to come on. I'm going to give equal access. If Simpson wants to come on, give him equal access, and I'm going to ask him questions. But the one thing that upset me, and I wanted to throw that question at Brian Smith, was the deal about the letter that Mike Simpson wrote to Michelle Bachmann, calling her a McCarthyist, and when he knew my stand against the Muslims being appointed to this administration, calling us McCarthyist. You know what? Joe McCarthy wasn't really wrong at all. And I don't mind being labeled a McCarthyist if we're going to be inquisitive and inquiring about people coming into our government that really are bad people. And I'm going to keep questioning that. And Mike made me a little bit more than mad when he summed up the name against me and others as McCarthyists. Calls are welcome, 436-2244, 1-866-927-4587. Surely there's more than two people out there that have a voice regarding Brian Smith challenging Simpson. Did you say something, Gina?
No, but I could if you wanted me to.
Well, have I ever thwarted your golden tones?
No, but we have a phone call for you.
Thanks, Gina. I appreciate it.
You're welcome.
Morning, caller. You're on the air.
Good morning, Greg. How are you doing?
I'm good, sir. Go ahead.
I'm only 32. I'm fairly young yet, but as far as I can recall, Simpson has always done things to upset the citizens, of here in Idaho and not represent us worth a darn. And it's about time, and I feel relieved that someone's going to run against him because it's adios, man, in my opinion. He had his chance, and he blew it.
Well, and I'll comment a little bit on that because of the past that I've seen with challengers, and I think some of the mistakes they made. I thank you for your call. You're always welcome, and take care, and God bless, all right? Thank you, sir. I brought up Chick Hylison and his running against Mike Simpson. And I'll say this, and there might be somebody out there that will be offended, but the truth is, Chick Hylison ran an absolutely lousy campaign. I remember vividly when we were in Burley at a banquet, and Chick Hylison came in with his family and others of his entourage and sat over in the corner. And didn't get up and go around and glad hand people and say, "Hi, I'm Chick Hylison." He sat in the corner. And it's that kind of a withdrawn campaign that was a waste. Chick Hylison had some good ideas, but it was a wasted campaign because he wasn't personable enough and on the attack enough to get up and go out and really make himself known. Maybe it's going to be different this time with this Idaho Falls attorney, Brian Smith. But whoever is going to challenge Simpson is going to have to go the extra mile, going to have to put in the extra hours, put in the extra interviews, really make himself accessible to explain his position, and not be withdrawn and sit at the table and wait for people to come to him. That's what Chick Hylison did, and that's why Chick Hylison lost. Calls are welcome, 436-2244. I was there that night, so I do know what I'm saying. 436-2244, 1-866-927-4587. Good morning, caller. You're on the air.
Good morning. I was just wondering, maybe someone knows this or can explain it a little better to me. Why would an internet sales tax be a bad thing? And is Idaho missing out on this? I mean, we all pay sales tax or most of us. Does that mean I could buy a car off the internet and not pay sales tax?
Well,
I just have questions.
There are tax breaks given. There are tax breaks given over the internet that aren't given to the local stores, etc. And a fair and equitable situation would be that everybody has to play with the same set of rules.
So is Idaho the only state that doesn't?
And I also, I'm not like some of these blowhard talk show hosts that say I know everything. I don't. I will find out if there are other states that are part of that problem, and I will report back to you. But for me to sit here and say that I know everything about every state as to whether or not they have an internet sales tax or not, I would be lying to you if I said that.
Okay.
But now I want to ask you another question before you leave. Don't go. What were your overall thoughts about that gentleman as a challenger?
I think I'll vote for him. Just because of what I don't like, what the other one's doing. I would vote for him, I believe. I'm for term limits. I don't think they should be a career politician.
Yeah, and we're seeing the likes I mentioned earlier. When you look at Charlie Rangel in New York and what he said about us, the whites, as being white crackers over the weekend and getting away with it on a very racial tone, what were your thoughts about this man, 83 years old, still in Congress and still playing the race card?
I think it's funny how if we hint or say anything that's not right, we're racist, but you put the shoe on the other foot and it's totally opposite. That's all good to go. But
sir, I appreciate your call. I mean that. Call me again. You're a very nice man, and thank you very much. Appreciate it.
Okay.
All right, sir. I'm out of time. And again, I want to thank Brian Smith up in Idaho Falls taking the time to come on our program this morning. And I think I am interested. Gina, get on here real quick. You got 30 seconds. The gist of what I've got this morning is I haven't had anybody come out and say that they wouldn't vote for the Brian Smith. You know what I mean? It's been kind of interesting.
It has been kind of interesting, but Mike Simpson, been in office for a long, long time. He does have 30 years of experience, but I don't think he's using it wisely, and I'm just going to leave it at that.
All right, I'll leave it at that also and say I'll be back tomorrow morning at 8:06, and we'll ride the horse for 3 hours on Tuesday tomorrow. Have a good day. God bless. The way things were, the way things ought to be.